Naruto lay on the bed in Tezuna's just looking at the ceiling. Despite all the extra training he did thanks to asking all the Jounin-sensei for tips, he couldn't save Haku or Zabuza. He used weights to increase his speed and stamina, woke up at 5 in the morning to warm up before meeting with his team, doing chakra exercises life leaf sticking and tree walking, and last a couple of low-rank jutsu. He needed to work on his taijutsu, working with his clones, and maybe learn a few offensive jutsu. Kakashi is known for mastering over 1,000 jutsu. He must have at least 1 or 2 jutsu that would be able to work with his fighting style. The bell test was the first time he ever actually felt how truly weak he was. He threw everything he could at him, but it wasn't enough. Kakashi made him feel weak and defenseless, and he never wanted to feel that way again. He knew he was stronger, but no matter how strong he got, there would always be someone stronger than him. That's why he would train harder than before, harder than anyone else's age, and he wouldn't stop training. But first he needed help from his sensei. Naruto quickly got up and walked out the building to find Kakashi. It didn't take long as he was standing along a tree reading that book of his. "Kakashi-sensei?" started Naruto hesitantly. "What is it that you want, Naruto?" he asked boredly. "Kakashi-sensei, I'm not strong enough. I need to get stronger," Naruto said sadly. "Well, Naruto, have you been training hard?" Kakashi asked. "Not hard enough. I can't protect anyone at the level I am at. I need to increase my taijutsu, ninjutsu, control, and everything else. I need more help if I want to get strong enough to protect all of my precious people," said Naruto desperately. "So you think I can show you how to do all of that? You want me to show you how to be a strong ninja?" asked Kakashi. "No. I want guidance. I can only learn how to be a ninja on my own. Give me the tools and I will make you proud, sensei. Give me a chance to get stronger and I will," declared Naruto at the end. "Very well, if you are serious about it, then there are a few things I can give you to help you with," said Kakashi as he pulled out 2 scrolls and a small piece of paper. "What are they for, Kakashi-sensei?" asked Naruto. "The first scroll is a taijutsu scroll that I found years ago. It is style that focuses on unpredictable attacks and unorthodox strategies. You see, the style is extremely hard to master for most ninja, due to most people being able to follow set paths. While someone like you who is naturally unpredictable, this style will suit you well," explained Kakashi. "So by being myself, this style will help me fight. Now will I be able to use it with my clones? They are my best means to fight at the moment after all," asked Naruto. "That is why I believe this taijutsu will suit you perfectly. This taijutsu never will remain the same as you incorporate anything you learn into it. The basics are the only things that are constant, as the advanced moves are made to be incorporated to the techniques of the one who uses it," explained Kakashi as he handed Naruto the scroll. "So I can constantly develop my technique and it will never stay the same. This will be perfect. I can incorporate my clones into it and any other jutsu I learn," said Naruto as he looked at the scroll in his arms. "Now the second scroll is a few chakra control, speed, and strength exercises that you will have to do. The chakra control exercises must be completed before I allow you to move on your training," said Kakashi. "What is the last paper for sensei?" asked Naruto. "This is chakra paper. By channeling your chakra into it, we can determine your nature affinity," said Kakashi as he handed Naruto the paper. "Here it goes," stated Naruto as he channeled his chakra into it. His paper then split down the middle as he let it fall to the ground. As it fell, it started to shred into thousands of pieces, making Kakashi's eyes widen. However, he quickly schooled his features. "So what nature affinity am I, sensei?" asked Naruto. "What nature affinity do you think you are, Naruto?" asked Kakashi right back. "Well, considering on the fact that you say I'm unpredictable by nature and the chakra is used to cut things, it can't be fire, as that would probably burn the paper, or water, as that would probably have to do with something getting wet. Earth is the most predictable and is steadfast, so I'm not earth. So it is either wind or lightning?" asked Naruto. "So what element are you?" asked Kakashi. "If I had to make a guess, I would say that I am wind. It is unpredictable and strong, but can be focused at certain points when it needs to be," said Naruto as Kakashi gave him an eye smile. "That is a very good deduction, Naruto. It seems that you are ready to finally take this seriously, stated Naruto. Haku's death affected me more than you think, sensei. I now know that I've been living in a dream ever since I was a child. I thought that if I increased training after the bell test I would be able to be the best, but now I know that I will need to dedicate as much time as I can to training, said Naruto in a low voice. You don't have to spend every hour of everyday training. Despite being a ninja and legally an adult, all people must have time to relax and act their age. Finish the chakra control exercises by the end of the week, and when we get back I will get Asuma to start the first parts of your elemental training, said Kakashi as Naruto smiled brightly at him. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. You are one of the few in the village to treat me like a human. That means a lot to me, smiled Naruto. Naruto, you hold a burden that many couldn't bear by themselves. The fourth Hokage entrusted the power of the greatest demon in the world to you. You are his legacy, and I'm proud to see you taking this role seriously now, stated Kakashi, and like a dam bursting, Naruto finally understood his role in the village. He had the power to control the greatest amount chakra that world had ever seen. If he could master it, then he would be unstoppable. The fourth trusted him, and he would not let him down no matter what. I will make him proud, sensei. He trusted me with the protection of the village, and if I must I will protect the village with everything I have, Naruto declared. You say I will master the exercises in a week. I'll do it in 3 days. Kakashi watched as he saw Naruto ran into the tree line with a determined look on his face. This was the first time he had actually been truly proud of anyone on his team. Sasuke had changed little and was just as preoccupied with getting power. He was selfish and angered easily. He didn't work with the others. Kakashi thought he was a replica of him at first, but Sasuke was leagues more volatile than what he was as a kid. Then there was Sakura. He wasn't even sure if she should continue being a kunoichi. She was the only one not injured on the mission, only cause she didn't do any of the fighting. Not once did she come up to him asking for help or to get her stronger. All she has done since the fight was look after the still unconscious Sasuke. Then there was Naruto, who had by far had the most growth in the entire team. After the bell test, he saw that Naruto would practice on his own time. There was a huge improvement in the orange-clad ninja. His speed was close to Sasuke's level, and it had only been a month. His strength was greater than Sasuke's. Kakashi noticed that Naruto had chakra weights on him for the past month and a half now. Those types of weights were made to increase whenever the body would get used to them. If that's so, then with his healing ability they could be doubling in weight every week. Give him 2 months and he would be at Chunin level, and at the way he is developing mentally he might be ready for the exams. Together the three might make it past the first 2 parts, but only Naruto would have the potential to make Chunin. Sensei would be proud of his boy, thought Kakashi as he looked back at his book and giggled perversely. Naruto quickly got to clearing next to a large pond in the forest and looked at the chakra control exercises. The first was to do water walking, which Naruto had seen Kakashi do in his first battle with Zabuza. Now to begin training. It says that I have to keep a constant flow to stay above the water, said Naruto as he walked to the pond and started releasing chakra from his feet as he stepped on it. Feels solid enough, but as he took a second step he sunk into the shallow water. Never mind, this might take some time. So with renewed effort he began to water walk. That night he slowly walked back to Tezuna's house to get some food and to sleep. He had practiced water walking for 5 hours before switching to look at the taijutsu scroll. He did a few basic katas and started to use his clones with those few basics. It was then that he learned a nifty trick with the shadow clones. It was during the katas that he threw one of his clones over the lake. The clone flipped and landed on the lake and was even able to stay on the water for an entire minute before it popped. Naruto quickly felt everything the clone had felt as he had been concentrating on what the clone had done to stay on the water that long. Afterwards he could stand on water for an entire 3 minutes before losing control. That was when he decided to come back to Tezuna's before testing his new theory tomorrow. He walked in and was greeted by the smiling faces of Tezuna, Tsunami, Inari, and at least he thought Kakashi was smiling. Sakura herself looked like she was ready to explode. "Where the hell were you, Naruto?" she yelled as she ran up and punched him in the head before he could react in his exhausted state of mind. "Why the hell does she always have to punch me? I'm tired of that bitch. Wait, Sakura isn't a bitch? Is she? Do I even like her anymore? Asked Naruto to himself as he slowly stood up. He glared at Sakura for a second, releasing a small amount of killing intent. This made her look at Naruto in surprise. He had never glared at her before or even released a small amount of anger to her. As quickly as it came, it was gone, and Naruto sat down and started eating after Tsunami put a plate down for him. He stood up, thanked Tsunami for the meal, and went to bed after saying night to everyone else. The next morning, Naruto was in the same clearing as before, doing the tree climbing exercise, while carrying a boulder with clones throwing blunted kunai at him. He reasoned that it would help his control, strength, speed, reserves, and accuracy. There were also 10 clones doing the water walking exercise while trying not to sink. After an hour of doing this, he finally slipped out of the tree and decided to take a break. He decided to walk around a bit before finding a hidden cave. Summoning a few clones to check it out in case of traps, he stood outside waiting. He could feel how a few clones had feel for traps, and when they were all cleared, he entered. Inside found an armory of some of the strangest weapons he had ever seen. He could tell by the metal that they weren't steel or iron. They all had seals on them from what he could tell, but for some reason none of them seemed like he should use. He came close to a pair of trench knives on the wall that seemed to be calling to him. The blades were pure black and curved inward, making it look like a crescent moon, with the blade being on the inner part of the blade. The handles had guards on them with small spikes where the knuckles would be. .com/Olksand_, but with more of a crescent shape, black blade, and handguards with spikes. A little longer too. He grabbed, and immediately he felt a burning on pain on his wrist. The pain brought him to his knees as he gripped his wrist in a vain way to stem the pain. What felt like eons was just 3 minutes, and he was sitting while looking at his wrist that now had a tattoo on it. It was the kanji for Kazekage, Wind Shadow. What do the blades have to do with the leader of Suna? Thought Naruto as he looked up to where all the weapons were to see that they were all gone. He crawled out of the cave, and when he looked back there was nothing left. The rocks that surrounded the cave were gone, and its entrance had disappeared completely. What is going on here? Was I caught in a genjutsu? He asked before using a kai release. With that, he decided just to finish water walking for the day and just forget about all of that. But due to the tattoo on his wrist, he knew that what had happened was real and not just his imagination. That night he got back even worse than the night before. He barely made it to bed, and Kakashi was a little worried about him, so he went up to check on his student. Inside he found Naruto holding his wrist, studying what looked like a tattoo that said Kazekage. What was Naruto doing with a tattoo that said Kazekage on it? So mind explaining how you got that there, Naruto? Said Kakashi, surprising Naruto. I don't exactly know, sensei. I got it in a cave, said Naruto. Where is this cave, Naruto? Kakashi asked. It's gone, he said softly. Mind explaining? Replied Kakashi. So for the next few minutes he told Kakashi about the cave and him touching the blades. Then about how the weapons and the tunnel disappeared, but he still had the tattoo. It seems that the blades you touched was somehow sealed into you. I have no clue about the cave, as I have never heard of something like that, said Kakashi. Well, what are we supposed to do about the knives in my arm? Asked Naruto. Why not try summoning them? Asked Kakashi. How do I do that, sensei? We didn't really go over seals that much in the academy, stated Naruto. Just focus on flowing your chakra into the tattoo on your wrist, stated Kakashi as Naruto concentrated for a little while before a poof occurred. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was holding 2 black crescent trench knives. The blades themselves looked like they were just made for the purpose of killing anything that got in their way. Well, will you look at that? Here, let me see one of them for a second, Naruto, said Kakashi. Naruto handed him one of the blades, and immediately black tendrils whipped out and wrapped themselves around Kakashi's wrist. Kakashi immediately felt his chakra draining, and he was soon brought to his knees by the pain that he had just registered. He was finally able to rip it off with help from Naruto and stood up panting and sweating from what the blades had done to him. They both looked at it and noticed that there was now a crimson-red seal that wrapped around the blade. Well, it seems that the blade will only let you use it, Naruto, and it seems to be able to absorb chakra just by being in contact with another person. It may have a few other abilities, but you will have to figure them out on your own. Well, I can spend the rest of the week on that as I finished water walking last night, beamed Naruto as he was smiling at his twin knives. Kakashi's eyes widened at the fact that Naruto had already learned a skill that took most over a week to learn in just 2 days. That is truly impressive, Naruto, but I will oversee your training for the next few days so that you don't hurt yourself. So you will only be able to do a little work using the blades, said Kakashi. Why don't you just use a shadow clone, sensei? Asked Naruto. So he learned the secret to the clones? He could easily be high Chunin level by the time of the exam. You would be proud of him, sensei. That would work, Naruto, but what do you know about your shadow clones? He asked anyways. Well, I found that what they learn I learn, so I can decrease my training time, while I can focus on more demanding physical exercises, stated Naruto. That is correct. It is a trick we do not just tell anyone. You must learn it yourself to use this training technique. Sasuke woke up early today demanding answers about the fight. I just thought you would like to know that, stated Kakashi as he went to the door. Well, when will he be back into fighting state? Asked Naruto. Most likely by the end of the mission. Tomorrow I will leave a clone with you so that we can discover some things about those knives of yours, said Kakashi as he left the room. See ya, sensei, said Naruto as he laid down and quickly went to sleep. Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom. That next morning Naruto was up quickly doing a morning workout regime that he had designed, similar to one earlier but without the boulder on his back. This time, however, the clones weren't holding back and were throwing as hard as they could. He was told that morning to make sure he had a good workout before they would work on the blade. It was also early in the morning that he ran into Sasuke, who had finally woken up and gotten out of bed. Hey team, how are you feeling? Asked Naruto as he walked into breakfast that morning. Better. Not that it matters to you, Dobe, said Sasuke. Well, get better quickly. I need a sparring partner so that I can test a new style I've been trying to learn, said Naruto. Whatever style you learn won't help you in fight against me, Dobe, said Sasuke. Whatever, Sasuke. I mean, whatever helps you sleep at night, replied Naruto smoothly. That's when Sakura decided to add her opinion. Shut up, Baka. Sasuke could beat you in a fight with both his hands behind his back, she yelled at him. Really? You would know this, how, Sakura? I mean, you only know the Academy Taijutsu 3-week jutsu, and not a single Genjutsu. I just want to know how you are an expert at this stuff, asked Naruto. This had two effects. One, it shut Sakura up, and it got Sasuke wondering what had happened since he was knocked unconscious. Whatever, I'm going to go train. I need to practice a bit with weapons before we head home, said Naruto as he left. Now he was trying to make it to the point that Kakashi had told him to meet at. There was just one problem, and that was the 40 clones chucking kunai, shuriken, or any other thing they could find at him. He finally made it to the clearing and had the 40 clones start water walking while he waited for his sensei. It didn't take long as Kakashi arrived and observed Naruto doing a few katas of his new style, before he stopped and looked at Kakashi waiting for an instruction. Okay, first I suggest you unseal your blades. We will just do a few tests to see if they will suit you in combat, stated Kakashi as Naruto unsealed his blades. Now, I don't know too many styles that incorporated trench knives, but they are similar to kunai. If you want to learn some, I can introduce you to Asuma Sarutobi when we get back, so you can learn some things from him, said Kakashi. I'm sure you could teach me just as much, sensei. I wonder if I can do clones while holding these, Naruto thought out loud. Try the hand sign while holding the knives and do the jutsu, stated Kakashi. Naruto made a modified hand sign for shadow clones and called out the jutsu. Nothing happened at first, but Naruto still held the sign forcing chakra into the jutsu. To Kakashi's surprise, Naruto's shadow split in half and started to rise from the ground. They were both finally as tall as Naruto and started to morph into an image. Soon one could tell they were in the shape of Naruto, but dark and hard to make out. Then they slowly changed color till they looked like exact copies of Naruto. The real Naruto finally let go of the hand sign and started to breath pretty hard. He looked at his two clones in awe. They were actually shadow clones. Well, it seems you can actually create clones from your own shadow. This seems like a Nara-type jutsu, but I've never seen anyone be able to create clones from their shadows," said Kakashi. "This has to be one of the coolest jutsu I have ever used. I wonder how hard they are to dispel, or if they are meant for recon as they might be able to merge into shadows to hide," said Naruto as he examined the two clones that had yet to move from their position. It was when he was standing in front of one of the clones that he realized that he could see himself and Kakashi-sensei from the eyes of both clones. Paths of pain, but severely less variety of techniques compared to him. "Hey sensei, I can see through their eyes. Does that mean I have to control them like I control myself?" asked Naruto as Kakashi came over started to observe the motionless clones. "This is an interesting technique, Naruto. Try to focus on one of the bodies and see if you can move them," commanded Kakashi as Naruto closed his eyes and began to focus on the clone closest to Kakashi. Kakashi looked at the clone in the eyes until it blinked and started to move. "Sensei, this is weird," stated Naruto as he moved his clone around for a bit. He was doing a few shadow punches when he felt a sharp pain in the gut. He looked down and noticed the kunai in him, but no blood. In fact, the kunai slowly was pushed out until it was quickly out. Black tendrils flew out and healed the wound quickly. "Well, it seems those clones of yours are quite resilient, but can they survive complete destruction?" said Kakashi as he fired a fireball at Naruto, quicker than he could react. The fireball engulfed the clone, and when it was over there was nothing left but a small shadow on the ground. "I guess they have a limit to what they can take," said Kakashi. "Not really, sensei," said the other clones as he pointed at the shadow that was slowly reforming from the ground. "If you have played Kingdom Hearts, think of the weakest Heartless but growing into Naruto." After a few seconds it had completely reformed and started to move again. This time, though, both were moving instead of just one of them. "So you figured out how to control both at the same time?" asked Kakashi. "Yep, you see there was a mental block on each clone that you must break before you can control them," stated one clone. "Once broken it is very easy to control them," said the other clone. "Think of it as moving your arms, sensei," said the original as it stood up and opened its eyes. Kakashi was immensely proud of his student for discovering such a powerful technique. In reality, he could drop the other two and just keep Naruto as his genin cell, and no one would know the difference if they hinged. It could be used for combat, training, or recon. I wonder if he can use the technique without the blades? Dispel your clones and put your blades away. Now I want you to try to make them without holding the knives," commanded Kakashi. "Okay, sensei," said Naruto as he sealed up the knives and made the hand sign for the shadow clones. He concentrated on making the same clones and started pushing chakra into the technique. Slowly two forms grew from his shadow and merged into the shape of Naruto, but unlike the last time they did not change color. Naruto dropped to his knee panting in exertion of putting chakra into the technique. Just making two incomplete clones had used up 2/3s of his chakra. "It seems that your blades make it so that you can channel what appears to be shadow chakra more easily. Here, let's test your affinity one more time," said Kakashi as he handed Naruto another chakra paper. Naruto channeled his chakra into the paper and it did the same as before, but all the pieces of paper quickly turned as black as the night sky. "Does this mean that once I have enough control I could use techniques that no one else has ever seen before?" asked Naruto. "Well, the Nara clan has techniques that you might be able to use, but you would need permission to learn them first. However, I do believe you could do things no Nara has ever done before," said Kakashi. "Wow, so is it like some sort of bloodline?" asked Naruto. "You won't be able to until you have children, Naruto," answered Kakashi. "Oh well, I better get back to training then," said Naruto as he pulled out his blades again and made two more clones, after dispelling the two pure black clones. "Before you start doing anything, I have jutsu here that I think you would like very much. It would fit your style perfectly," said Kakashi as he gave the scroll to Naruto. "Wow, sensei, this will work out perfectly," said Naruto in an excited tone. "I thought so. Now I'm gonna go find Sasuke and Sakura and show them water walking. I have to teach them something or else they won't be ready for what I have planned in the future," said Kakashi as he left the clearing. Naruto made some regular shadow clones go work on the jutsu that he was give, while he started to some sparring with the 2 new clones he had just made using his blade. As a group of 20 shadow clones came at the 3. I wonder what I should name this technique? They aren't really clones as they are an extension of my body. He ducked under a blow that one of his new clones saw coming at him. That is nifty. It is like having eyes in the back of my head, thought Naruto as he turned and slashed the neck of the exposed clone. I just need to work on my syncing with them. There is a second delay between my thoughts and their movements. If it wasn't for their regenerative abilities, they would be gone by now. Just then, a clone was able to disarm him from one of his blades. The blade landed deep in the ground in the shadow of one of his clones. Normally this would mean nothing, but seeing as how the clone stopped moving altogether, the battle ended. Naruto walked up to his clone and looked at it. The eyes were moving around, but it seemed that it was frozen in place. He then walked over to his knife and pulled it from the ground and the shadow of the clone. This allowed the clone to move once more, to the surprise of Naruto. So if the blade gets stabbed into the shadow of an enemy, they are immobilized until it is pulled free? This is really interesting. Now what should I call my new techniques? Thought Naruto as he sat down and began to think. I know. Kage Richi for its chakra draining properties. Kage Tarapu for when I trap them with the blade, and Kage Tamashi Encho for my clones, or what are now my shadows. Shadow Leech, Shadow Trap, and Shadow Soul Extension. Now to get improved control over my shadows, thought Naruto as his clones surrounded him and his shadows. The next 5 hours would be straight exercising, practicing control over his clones, working on his taijutsu style, and his clones working on the scroll Kakashi-sensei gave him. Pretty soon it was the end of the week and they were all ready to leave. Inari was hugging Naruto, not wanting to leave, while Kakashi was talking to Tazuna and Sakura was trying to molest Sasuke in the back. Don't worry, Inari. I'll visit again someday. Besides, I'm sure Konoha might need someone like your grandfather in the future, said Naruto, trying to reassure the boy. I know, but if it wasn't for you, we would still be under Gado's rule, said Inari as he began to cry a bit. Hey, what did I say about crying? Asked Naruto. I'm not crying. They're tears of joy, replied Inari. Sure. Stay strong, Gaki, said Naruto as he began to walk over to where his team stood. It was at that moment that Sasuke finally took notice of the tattoo that was now on Naruto's arm. Dobe, where did you get that tattoo? Demanded Sasuke. You say something, Sasuke? Asked Naruto as he stood off to the side a bit. Meanwhile, Kakashi had sneezed during his conversation with Tazuna. I demand you tell me how you got that tattoo on your wrist, demanded Sasuke again as Sakura finally saw the tattoo. Yeah, you think you're cool because you have a tattoo and Sasuke doesn't? If anything, it makes you look even more like a dobe, yelled Sakura. But Naruto just ignored her and looked directly at Sasuke. You have no right to demand anything from me, Sasuke. Get that stick out of your butt and learn that not everyone is below you, said Naruto as he and Sasuke started to glare at each other. Sasuke activated his Sharingan, but at that moment he felt steel pressed against his neck. If this was a real fight, you would be dead, Sasuke, said Naruto as his clone released the pissed Sasuke. Luckily, a fight was avoided as Kakashi came walking over with an eye smile. Well, team, it is time for us to leave, he stated. It is about time, said Sasuke as he looked away, but one could tell he was still pissed. Cha, I can't wait to get back home, yelled Sakura as Naruto couldn't believe how loud she was. I can't believe I ever liked her, he thought. Yo, Tazuna, Inari, and Tsunami. I'll miss you guys. If you ever come to Konoha, just look me up, he yelled as his team jumped into the trees. What was a 2-day journey while escorting civilians was nothing but a 3-hour journey for ninja. Naruto noted that Sasuke was panting lightly, and Sakura was sweating up a lake and panting in exhaustion. He himself was carrying weights, but wasn't even warmed up at this speed. It still isn't strong enough. This is nothing but a walk for someone at Kakashi's level, thought Naruto. I can't wait to get back home, he stated out of the blue. You're excited about anything, dope, said Sasuke despite it being labored. I'm just saying, there are some things I need to buy, Since this is an A-rank mission, I should be able to afford new kunai, shuriken, wire, and clothes. I'm so tired of this orange jumpsuit. I want something in black, said Naruto to surprise of his teammates. I thought orange was his favorite color? Thought Sasuke and Sakura. They made it to the gates and saw two Chunin guarding the gates. Kakashi walked forward to allow them to pass through. Team 7 requesting entrance after successful completion of a mission to the Land of Waves, said Kakashi as he handed them the documents and they were let into the village. Okay team, first we will go to the Hokage to report and then you will be given a week off from team training, said Kakashi as they left for the Hokage tower. He did the same thing as the bell test. He hinted to the fact that there would be no team training, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't train or ask for some help from him or others, thought Naruto as they got to the tower and began to make their way to the Hokage's room. On the way they ran into Team 8 also entering for a mission. Hey Hinata, Kiba, Shino, said Naruto as he saw the team. What's up Naruto? Said Kiba loudly as he and Naruto were friends during the academy. Bark, said Akamaru as he popped up from Kiba's hood. Hi to you too Akamaru, said Naruto. Shino simply nodded to his fellow ninja and Hinata turned bright red before answering. Hello and Naruto Keikuin, said Hinata shyly as she shrank back a bit. It's okay Hinata, I'm not going to hurt you. You don't have to be afraid of talking to me, exclaimed Naruto quickly. I am not afraid and Naruto Keikuin, she said a bit bolder than before. Good. I would want someone as cute as you to be afraid of me, exclaimed Naruto, unaware of what his words would do. Slowly her head turned a brighter red before she fell over on the floor to Naruto's surprise. Hinata! He yelled as everyone else looked the two with sweat drops. Guys, what's wrong with her? He said. Don't worry Naruto. She does this a lot. I'm Kurenai Yuhi, her sensei, said the red-eyed brunette. Okay. Nice to meet you ma'am, said Naruto as he shook her hand. It was at that moment when they were asked to come into the Hokage's office. Team 8, good to see you. And Team 7, how was your first C-rank mission? Asked the Hokage to the surprise of Team 8. It was good Gigi, but we ran into some trouble, said Naruto. Let me explain Naruto. We were confronted by a total of 4 ninja on the mission. 2 were Chunin level, 1 was an unknown rank, and the other was a Jounin that went by the name of Zabuza, said Kakashi as the Hokage stood up in surprise and Kurenai gasped in alarm. Then this mission was at least A rank, at least Kakashi, said the Hokage. Yes it was, and after the bridge was complete the client paid twice the amount of a normal A rank to compensate, said Kakashi. How did your team handle the situation Kakashi? Asked the Hokage. I believe they all handled it perfectly, but there are some things that we must discuss in private about Naruto here, said Kakashi. What, why? I'm the Uchiha. If anything you should be talking about me, exclaimed Sasuke in surprise. Sasuke, I suggest you hold your tongue or else you will be escorted from the room. Now Kakashi, will you give me a detailed account of this mission? Asked the Hokage. After the debriefing and Kurenai's team getting a mission, it was only Kakashi, the Hokage, and Naruto left. Now what is it that I should know? Asked the Hokage. I accessed the Kyuubi's chakra for a brief moment during my battle with Haku, said Naruto. Are you feeling any different? Asked the Hokage. Not at all Gigi. Actually I feel better than ever, said Naruto. That actually brings us to our next subject Hokage-sama. It seems Naruto found a weapon while we were in the Land of Waves, said Kakashi as Naruto unsealed his twin trench knives. How did you find these weapons Naruto? Asked the Hokage. Well, started Naruto as he proceeded to the Hokage about the mysterious cave. I see this is certainly a mysterious find, but what I want to know is if there are any special properties that these knives have? Asked the Hokage. Well, when we are testing them we found that Naruto's blades can drain chakra and create unique clones, started Kakashi. Yep, I call them Kage-Richi and Kage-Tamashi Ensho. All of the abilities so far are shadow-based, and by what Kakashi said about my chakra affinity I now have shadow as a secondary element, said Naruto brightly. Wow, that surely is surprising. May I ask what your primary affinity is, Naruto? Asked the Hokage. Well, I determined with help from sensei that I have a large affinity for wind jutsu. So I'm going to find Asuma and ask him if he can show me the first stage of mastering my wind element, said Naruto. That is a good plan, Naruto. Why don't you go now? Kakashi and I have some things to discuss, said the Hokage as Naruto left to get his new clothes and weapons. I thought it was clear that no student was made to take preference over the others, Kakashi. He has learned far more than the others, said the Hokage. He is the only one asking for help. He isn't asking me to do everything for him. Just a few pushes in the right direction and some demonstrations like his father did for me. The others aren't so willing in that regard, said Kakashi as he paused to think over the information. Sakura is too fangirlish and is doing nothing to get stronger. She spends all day fretting over Sasuke, and when I ask her to do more she doesn't listen. Sasuke demands for me to show him all my jutsu since he has now activated his Sharingan, said Kakashi in distaste. Do you want to continue with this team then? Asked the Hokage. I'm going to put them in the Chunin exams. If they don't wise up by then I will be forced to drop both Sakura and Sasuke and take Naruto as an apprentice, answered Kakashi. Very well, Kakashi. I trust your judgment in these matters. Now what about his shadow chakra? Is it similar to Inara? Asked the Hokage. It is much denser than Inara's, but it takes much control when he doesn't use his blades. He releases too much chakra then. When he uses the knives, then his control is strong enough to waste a little chakra, said Kakashi. Okay. I might talk to Shikaku to perhaps teach him a few techniques. That's if he finds Naruto worth enough to know those techniques, said the Hokage. Is that all, sir? Asked Kakashi. Yes, it is. You are dismissed, said the Hokage. Naruto was looking around one of the shinobi stores in Konoha picking out new clothing. He had already selected black tactical pants and a black jacket with crimson trimming. The jacket had room for hidden kunai and he had chain mesh shirt underneath. Kunai and shuriken holsters on both legs for quick access. Overall, the new look fit him nicely. Since he still had a few hours left to train, he decided to seek out Asuma Sarutobi for wind chakra training. Summoning 20 clones, he sent them to various training grounds looking for the Jounin. 5 minutes later, one of his clones found Team 10 practicing team exercises on Training Ground 10. It only took him a minute to get there and watch the team doing what looked like a standard formation. Soon they were taking a small break when he noticed Shikamaru glance in his direction. Next thing he knew, there was a kunai heading for his head. He tilted his head to the side to avoid it. I know you are there. Come down now or we will be forced to fight, he stated as his teammates came to his side ready to battle. He saw Asuma behind them just smiling like he knew who was watching them. Why shouldn't he? Naruto had asked for aid right after the bell test, so Asuma must have know his chakra signature. You know, this would be a good training exercise, thought Naruto as he did a henge on his face that made him have brown hair, no whisker marks, and a scar across his cheek. The last was he put his headband away. Now for the fun part, he thought as he jumped down in front of them. So the little kiddies want to play? He said in a sinister voice and a creepy grin. Who are you and what are you doing in Konoha? Asked Shikamaru. I'm no one and why I'm here is none of your business, he stated. I will ask you one more time. Who are you and what are you doing here in Konoha? Asked Shikamaru again as the three crouched down a bit to start battle. I will tell you if you defeat me in combat, but if you don't then your sensei has to do something for me, he challenged in his sinister voice. Before Team 10 could respond, they heard Asuma agree to the terms. Naruto smiled at this information. Now he just needed to beat Team 10. Well, let's start then, said Naruto as he jumped back and threw 3 kunai at the genin. The 3 quickly dodged and came running at him with Chuji in the lead and Shikamaru at the back. Naruto saw Shikamaru's shadow coming early and jumped right past it and met Chuji at the front. Ducking under a swing, Naruto brought his knee up and caught him in the gut before spinning around him and blocking a punch from Ino. He grabbed her hand and threw her over his shoulder and ran at Shikamaru, who was defenseless. Thankfully, with his new training, he was much faster and made it to Shikamaru before his shadow could catch him. Aiming a punch at him, Shikamaru rolled to the side and ducked under a kick that was sent at him by Naruto. Shikamaru sent his own leg out to trip his opponent, but the boy jumped over it and appeared to go for another punch to the face, but at the last second spun in air and hit Shikamaru in the gut with a foot. Shikamaru rolled to the side to cushion the blow, but the boy had already anticipated that and was bringing a hammer blow on him. That was when Chuji reappeared and blocked the blow. Naruto was forced to jump back as Ino sent shuriken and kunai at him. He pulled his own and started to block them as he got distance between Team 10 and him. "Chuji, do it!" yelled Shikamaru as Chuji inflated and sucked his body parts in and stared spinning at a fast rate before hurtling towards Naruto. Slightly surprised, Naruto dodged to the side and ran at Shikamaru and Ino. However, once again he had to jump back as Chuji came at him again. This time, however, Ino was throwing kunai to make sure he stayed back away from them. Naruto was finally able to get past Chuji and was running right Ino. Preparing a massive haymaker on the girl, he suddenly stopped moving. He looked down with his eyes and saw a shadow coming from Shikamaru. "So this is one of the Nara jutsu?" questioned Naruto as Shikamaru straightened up and Ino and Chuji surrounded him. "Now that you have lost, what is your name and what are you doing in Konoha?" questioned Shikamaru. "Who said I lost?" questioned Naruto as he began to glow brightly. "Art is an explosion," he shouted as Team 10 all leapt back to the cover of the trees, as an explosion destroyed the area close to the clone. As the members of Team 10 regained their orientation, they found cold steel placed against their throats. Each one of them had a clone with a kunai at their necks ready to kill them. "It seems you have lost," stated the enemy shinobi. "Now that you have defeated my team, what will you do about me?" asked Asuma Sarutobi as he walked over. "Hee, you will be teaching the beginnings of elemental manipulation for wind," said the shinobi to the surprise of Team 10. "You can drop the henge, Naruto," said Asuma as each clone popped out of existence as Naruto walked out from behind the trees with a smile on his face. Team 10 was flabbergasted by the fact that it was Naruto that they had been fighting the whole time. They couldn't believe that they had lost to the dead last. "So, Asuma-sensei, will you please teach me the first step?" asked Naruto as Team 10 recovered their minds. "Naruto, why did you do that? I actually thought I was going to be killed there," screamed Ino. "My troublesome teammate is right. Why didn't you just come out? We didn't need to do that troublesome fight," stated Shikamaru as he observed the blonde. "Yeah, I mean it is good to see you, but what's with doing that to us?" asked Chuji. Sorry guys, I just thought it would be a good exercise right there. I wasn't intending on hurting any of you," replied Naruto as he grinned at them. Shikamaru was still trying to figure out how the blonde got so strong. "This isn't the same blonde as before. I have to throw everything I know about Naruto out of my mind." "Well, sensei?" he asked hopefully. "We did have a deal after all," said Asuma as he took a scroll out and threw it to Naruto. Naruto looked at it for a second before looking at Asuma. "I only asked for the first part? You didn't have to give me all of this," said Naruto. "Consider it a gift for completing your first A-rank mission," said Asuma to the shock of his team. "Thanks, sensei," said Naruto as he left to find a place to train. "Did we just get beat by Naruto?" asked Ino as she just realized that it was the dead last. "Troublesome blondes," stated Shikamaru. Naruto made it to Training Ground 7 and started to read the scroll. "So I have to cut a leaf using wind chakra? Sounds easy, but I know it is going to be hard," he thought as he made 50 clones start doing the exercise. 2 weeks later, after a week of team exercising and conditioning. The past week had been horrible for many different reasons. First, Sasuke was starting to notice that Naruto was getting strong. Really strong. He was catching up to him on the runs, lifting more, and even outlasting him on chakra exercises. This just made Naruto mad, as Sasuke kept demanding Naruto to tell him what he knew, while Sakura supported him all the time. Second, Sakura wasn't doing anything to really improve and she was holding the team back. Then there were the civilians that kept treating him like garbage, but thankfully they couldn't do anything since he was now shinobi. Luckily, there were some good things like him finishing the first 2 stages of elemental manipulation that Asuma had given him, plus the 2 C-rank jutsu he now knew. He had also learned a powerful technique for his trench knives. He was saving it for when he fought in the Chunin exams, but it was powerful and quick, or he would use it on a powerful opponent. Thankfully, he learned a style quickly using his trench knives, as it was similar to using kunai to fight. He rarely showed them though, and it was never in the presence of Sasuke or Sakura. Right now, Team 7 was going to the Hokage's office to get another mission before the Chunin exam in 2 weeks. Kakashi had already told them that they would be participating in it. As they entered, they found Team 8 there standing there at attention waiting for orders. The Hokage smiled at them as they entered the room. "Ah, Team 7, just the people I was looking for. You will be accompanying Team 8 on a mission to eliminate a group of bandits that has camped out by the border of Fire Country. Kakashi will lead the mission with Kurenai as second in command. Kakashi and Kurenai, I would like your input in who should lead the mission if the 2 of you are incapacitated," asked the Hokage. Kakashi and Kurenai started talking for a little bit so that the others couldn't hear them. "I know you will suggest Sasuke as team leader, but I believe Shino will make a better leader as he is more logical and won't just make rash decisions," said Kurenai. "Well, I actually believe Naruto should lead the teams," he said to her surprise. "What? But he was the dead last at the academy. He doesn't think things through and would be a bad leader," said Kurenai. "He is more than capable to be a team leader as he is the strongest genin on my team. More than once he has shown that he grown up and become a more than capable leader for this team," stated Kakashi. "If you believe him to be, then I will follow your judgment," she said as they walked over to where the teams were. They were about to speak before Sasuke decided to open his mouth. "I accept being leader of the team for this mission, senseis," stated Kakashi smugly. "Actually, we chose Naruto to lead the genin on this trip," stated Kakashi as Sasuke looked outraged, Sakura looked affronted, Team 8 looked surprised, and Naruto looked the same. "Sensei, I believe I do not deserve this role as leader," stated Naruto. "Yeah, why does the Dobe lead this mission? If it should be anyone to lead this mission, it should be me, an Uchiha elite," demanded Sasuke angrily. "That is not why, sensei. I believe it should be Shino who should lead this mission," stated Naruto, once again causing everyone to be surprised. "And that is why you are leading this mission. You can make decisions that will benefit the team as a whole," stated Kakashi. All the while Sasuke looked like he could kill someone. It should be him, the Uchiha elite, that should be leading this mission. He needed to get stronger in order to kill his brother, and that Naruto kept getting in his way. "Destroy the camp. That is the mission, understood?" asked the Hokage. "Hi!" they all responded. They all met at the East Gate 1 hour after the meeting. "Okay, teams, do you have all you need for the mission? This should only be a 3-day mission. We will be in and out as quickly as we can," stated Kakashi. "Hi!" the genin responded as they took off. Team 7 was in the lead with Team 8 behind. Hinata had her Byakugan activated and Naruto had clones running around the area. Soon they would all have to make their first kill and became real shinobi. Some of you might accuse me of making Naruto too strong, but just remember that underestimating someone with a knife can kill you. Now, without any more stalling, here is the second chapter of my story. "Are you sure about the teams, Kakashi?" asked Kurenai from their position on a cliff above the bandit camp. "I'm sure. They need to work with other people in different teams if they want to get the experience that they need," replied Kakashi as he waited for the pairs to report in that they were ready. It had been decided that Shino and Sakura would prevent people from escaping the camp. That was if they got past the 3 teams assaulting the camp. Those teams were Kurenai and Kakashi, Sasuke and Kiba, and Naruto and Hinata. It was because of the Naruto and Hinata pairing that Kurenai was apprehensive about the strategy. Naruto was the dead last in the academy, while Hinata didn't have the heart to kill anyone. She had no idea that Naruto had come so far in the past 2 months and was now at mid-chunin level and easily one of the strongest genin. His mind had gotten sharp and deadly. He could think up strategies on the fly and act out any role that was needed. Then there was his nature of just drawing the attention of everyone when he walked into the rooms. He would gladly give his life for any one of his friends or comrades. Never give up even when facing impossible odds, and surprise even the most experienced shinobi. Kakashi knew for a fact that if anyone was to be paired with shy Hinata, it would have to be Naruto. He knew of her crush like everyone but Naruto, and that was the main reason for putting her with him. If Naruto was in danger, she would step in to save his life no matter how shy she was. Kakashi was more worried about Kiba and Sasuke. They were both rash and would make it a competition to see who could kill more. There was no way of them working together to face a common goal, unless faced with someone stronger than them. "Is everyone ready?" asked Kakashi through his radio. "I still don't know why I was placed with the creepy bug boy," said Sakura as she crouched down a few hundred yards from the camp. "Stay focused. You never know what can go wrong on a mission," said Shino, as if he didn't care she insulted him. "Why? Sasuke can handle all of the bandits by himself. He is the strongest ninja of our generation after all," declared Sakura loudly. "I'm not too sure about that. I know of 4 genin who can defeat him in combat," said Shino as he continued to be on alert. "Yeah, right. Sasuke is the greatest," she declared. "Is everyone ready?" said through the speaker. "I don't know why they put you with me. I don't need help to deal with a few bandits," said Sasuke smugly. "You arrogant ass. I'll have beaten more bandits than you by the end of the battle. Then we will see who is better," challenged Kiba as he glared at Sasuke. "You got yourself a deal, mutt," accepted Sasuke as the two glared at each other. "Although I bet Dobe would provide more of a challenge than you," said Sasuke as Kiba and Akamaru growled at the emo boy. "We'll see, Sasuke," growled out Kiba as he turned his attention back to the camp. "Is everybody ready?" asked Kakashi. Hinata stared at the boy that she liked. He had changed so much in the past 2 months, but she could still tell that he was the same. His eyes still twinkled when he smiled, and that smile itself could brighten anyone's day when they saw it. Although on the outside he was cool, calm, and collected. A big change from the brash, loud, and obnoxious boy he was before. But Hinata liked this Naruto just the same, if not more than before. She could tell he was ready for the mission. The Byakugan could read people like a book, and she could tell he was ready. His eyes were sharp, picking up any signs of movement or light. His ears were twitching, trying to pick up the softest of sounds so that no one could sneak up on them. Hands held kunai in a firm grip, ready at a moment's notice to be used. Yes, he had changed more than any other genin of the year. Unlike herself, she was nervous, fidgeting, sweating, and unfocused. She just knew that she would let Naruto down during the battle and that it would lead to him being hurt. Naruto seemed to sense her duress and looked directly at her with eyes that showed concern. "Hinata, are you okay?" he asked in a soft tone. "And Naruto Keikuin, I'm okay," she said, but her eyes didn't reflect what they said. There was fear in her eyes, but it was fear of the mission itself, but of failing. Naruto had seen those eyes before in himself. He would not anyone else go through what he went through after the bell test. "No, you aren't, Hinata. You're scared," he plainly stated, causing Hinata to gasp and look down. Tears sprang to her eyes as thoughts of Naruto thinking of her being weak came to her mind. However, she felt someone place their hand on her shoulder in comfort. "It's okay, Hinata. I'm scared too. I may have faced death a few more times than you, but it doesn't ever get less scary. You just have to focus on the task and let your body do the rest," said Naruto with a kind smile. But Ivy and never Keiki killed someone before. I'm afraid of letting you down," she said sadly. "That's how I felt on my first serious mission, Hinata. I was so weak and I could do nothing to help my team, so I resolved to get stronger to protect them," he said as he smiled at her. "But what if I fail? I could get you killed," she said quickly, not even stuttering. "That's why you won't fail me, Hinata. It is when we are protecting our precious people that we truly become strong. As long as you fight to protect, you will never be weak," he stated. Hinata was speechless as Naruto told her this. Did this mean that she was one of his special people? It was a dream come true. "When we get down there, I will be watching your back while you are watching mine," I trust you, Hinata, as long as you can trust me. Do you trust me, Hinata? He asked confidently with that infectious smile. She looked into his eyes and was lost for a moment. She could feel warmth spread through her body, and in that moment she felt more confident than any other time in her life. Her eyes took on a look of great confidence and responded, "Hi, Naruto. I trust you with my life as long as you can trust me." "Good," said Naruto as he smiled at her. "Is everybody ready?" they heard Kakashi say over the radio. "Back with Kakashi and Kurenai. This is Pink and Bug. In position and ready," came the voice of Sakura. "This is Canine and Flame. In position and ready," came Kiba's voice. "This is Lavender and Fox. In position and ready for Phase 1, came the confident voice of Hinata over the radio. "She didn't stutter at all," claimed Kurenai in surprise. "And I thought it would take a bit longer for Naruto to break that stutter of hers," commented Kakashi as Kurenai looked at him. "You knew this would happen?" she asked in surprise. "Of course. Naruto has a habit of making the impossible look easy for a 3-year-old. He responded. "I'm going to have to thank him at the end of this mission," Kurenai remarked. "That can wait. Start the Phase 1, Fox," said Kakashi through the microphone. "Here we go," said Naruto as he concentrated for a second before 30 shadow clones hinged as rocks and animals changed back to normal and charged the bandits. They quickly killed off the outer guards, but the noise alerted the rest of the camp, and soon there was a melee on the outer edges of the camp. After a minute of fighting, the clones all started glowing. "Hey, Hinata. Just remember, art is an explosion. Katsu!" he yelled as 18 explosive clones blew up at the same time, completely decimating the palisade wall that surrounded the camp and killing or injuring around 40 bandits and rebels. "Begin Phase 2, came Kakashi's voice as Hinata, Naruto, Kiba, Sasuke, Kakashi, and Kurenai attacked at once. Naruto summoned 10 clones that surrounded him and Hinata. They landed in a group of 20 bandits and started fighting. Naruto and 5 of his clones were using kunai to quickly kill the bandits, by slashing their throats or stabbing their arts. His new training basically made him too fast for the bandits to see. Hinata was having a bit more trouble fighting the bandits as she was a bit slower than Naruto. Thankfully, 5 of his clones were covering her and making sure she didn't get hurt by any lucky hit. Sasuke and Kiba were doing their own thing as Sasuke let loose a massive fireball at the group of bandits and laughed as 12 were burned to ashes. His Sharingan made it impossible to even be hit by such slow bandits. Kiba and Akamaru were tearing through the bandits. The two were like tornadoes through a Kansas dairy farm. However, they found less joy in killing than Sasuke. Sakura and Shino were sitting there waiting just in case any bandits made it through their teammates. Suddenly, Shino talked Sakura to the ground as a kunai whizzed by her head. The two looked up and found 4 enemy shinobi standing there looking at the two. "Well, it seems that while we were gone, some shinobi decided to attack our army," said the smallest of the group, who was the only female. "It seems so," said a large bulky man. "My, who is fighting in the base?" asked a man looking about 22 with black hair. The small girl closed her eyes for a second before responding. "There are 2 Jounin fighting at the west wing, 1 Genin and 1 Chunin at the north wing, and there is 1 Genin with 1 Jounin at the east wing. However, that is just the level of their chakra. Their control suggests a high Chunin level," said the girl. "2 Jounin at once? Haiden, I want you take them down," said the black-haired one. "Pussy, you just want the easiest one. Haha, and here I thought you were tough, you freaking coward," laughed the white-haired one. He was in a black cloak and was carrying a triple-bladed scythe. "Yes, it is him. All will be explained at the end of the battles. My take these 2 Genin. Goro, go after the Chunin and the Genin. I will go after the other Jounin," said the obvious leader of the group. The other 2 quickly left as the girl looked at the 2 before them. She had orange spiky long hair. "It looks like I get the kiddies of the group," she said evilly. Sasuke and Kiba had just finished off the last of their bandits and were arguing who got the most kills. "There is no way an Uchiha elite could lose to a dog like you," Sasuke declared arrogantly. "You are a prick," yelled Kiba angrily. Just then, the two jumped back as a massive boulder landed between the two of them. They looked to the side and noticed a large man standing there. He was bald and had extremely tan skin. Though she said I would be fighting a chunin here? How am I supposed to test myself against others if they aren't even my level? Declared the man as the two genin glared at him. Achin, I'll show you just how weak you are, declared Sasuke as he smirked got into a stance. Haha, don't make me laugh, boy. You won't even be able to scratch me, laughed the man as he picked up another boulder with his arms and threw it at Sasuke. Sasuke easily dodged it and deduced that the man may be strong but he was extremely slow. I will defeat him, then I will be one step close to defeating my brother. Kakashi had just finished his last bandit and was cleaning his kunai. This mission went well, he said cheerfully as Kurenai walked over. Yes, we are lucky. Wait! She shouted all of a sudden as Kakashi got wide-eyed at the fact that he could sense 4 chunin and above chakra signatures heading into the base. The strongest was heading towards them. It took 30 seconds for him to reach them. He was tall, handsome, and had wet hair. Only problems were the evil smile and the giant scythe he carried. So I have to deal with these 2 pathetic excuses for a jounin? He asked himself. Watch what you say. We have more than a few surprises for you, said Kakashi as he revealed his eye and got into a stance as Kurenai did the same. Your blood isn't even good enough for Jashin to take. Maybe my friend might have some more fun with that jounin and the genin, he said as he charged at them. We are the only jounin on the mission? Who is he talking about? Thought Kurenai as she jumped back. They sent a jounin at Naruto since they sensed his chakra levels, thought Kakashi in worry. See, Hinata-chan, I told you we could do it, exclaimed Naruto as he pulled a kunai out of a body. Thanks, Naruto, I couldn't have done it without you, she said with a small smile as Naruto smiled brightly at her. You did great, Hinata. We didn't have a single problem, he said with a smile. Then his smile morphed into a frown as he spun around and blocked a kunai aimed at his head. What is this? I thought I was going to get a jounin, but instead I get 2 wet-nosed genin. I believe that Mai is losing her touch, he yelled. Both Naruto and Hinata got close together and observed this unknown nin. We can take him, Hinata. Just stick close together. Kakashi and Kurenai will be here shortly, he said, but the enemy just laughed at him. Don't make me laugh, kid. The 2 of them are dealing with a S-rank criminal by the name of Hayden. They stand no chance just like you two. The name's Inferno, and by the end of this you will be nothing but a pile of ash, yelled the man as he started going through hand signs. Get behind me, Hinata, yelled Naruto as he went through 3 hand signs. Katon, burning wave, he yelled as he fired a stream of bright fire. Futon, great breakthrough, Naruto yelled in response as he concentrated the jutsu at the center of the wave of fire. The wind pushed the fire to the side, but made it much more hot. Kid, don't you know that fire beats wind? Asked Inferno as he crouched down. It did good enough. Hinata, stay behind me and look for an opening. Shadow clone jutsu, yelled Naruto as 5 clones surrounded him, and they charged the nin with Hinata not far behind. You're pretty fast for a genin, but I'm not a jounin for nothing, he declared as he jumped in the air and fired a large ball of fire at Naruto and the clones. Naruto and Hinata were thrown out of the circle by clones, just before it engulfed them. Okay, Hinata, I will attack him directly while you stay back. When he is distracted, disable him, yelled Naruto as he charged the nin again. Hinata looked in awe as Naruto closed the distance faster than before and engaged the nin. She watched and waited for Naruto to make that opening that she needed, but the nin wasn't jounin for nothing. He played with Naruto, just dodging all of his attacks, so Naruto made 6 clones that joined in on the assault. I will give you this, kid, you are easily chunin level. However, I am a B-rank missing nin from IWA. You are clearly outmatched by me, he declared as he sped up and nailed Naruto in the gut with a knee, then spun around and kicked over to where Hinata was. He then destroyed all of the clones. Too easy, what? Said the nin as the body poofed into smoke. Surprise! Yelled Naruto as he came from above and nailed the jounin with a powerful heel kick. However, Luck wasn't on his side as he turned into a destroyed log. "Damn!" cursed Naruto as he dodged out of the way of a few fireballs. He then was put on the defensive as the nin appeared again. Naruto was letting 1 out of every 3 hits in. His speed just wasn't good enough to keep up with the jounin. The nin delivered a hard knee to his gut and he went flying into one of the tents. "Kid has some skill," he started, but was interrupted as Hinata delivered a strike to his extended arm. "I won't let you hurt Naruto-kun," she declared as she pressed her advantage and tried to disable him before he regained control to his arm. "Stupid girl!" he yelled as he dodged another strike and kicked her feet out from beneath her, then punched her with his good arm into the ground. Hinata slowly got up and got into her stance. She had cuts on her body and was bruised a bit, but she could still fight. It was then that Naruto joined her side once more. "Good job, Hinata. His arm is disabled now," he said as he smirked and made the ram sign. "Doesn't matter, kid. I'm still strong enough to beat you at your current level," he declared. "Maybe then, but not now. Release!" he shouted as his chakra weights were removed. "Here I come!" yelled Naruto as he disappeared. "What?" exclaimed the nin before he was punched in the gut. As he was kneeled over, he felt a knee hit him in the gut, sending him upwards. There he was met with a clone that delivered a hammer blow to his face. Naruto appeared by Hinata and started to roll his shoulders. "Damn! I have to train more with my weights off. It hurts my body too much to move at those speeds," he panted out. "Damn you, kid!" shouted the man as he slowly stood up. His head was bleeding and his clothes were cut up, but he was still fine. "Damn! There is no way I can catch him by surprise again like that. It is time to bring out my knives," he thought. "Bring it!" yelled Naruto as he rolled up his sleeve to reveal his tattoo. "Meet my shadows!" yelled Naruto as he was obscured by a puff of smoke. Naruto was now standing there holding twin trench knives with the crescent moon design. Hinata could tell they were special as she could see the chakra in them, but the nin just laughed. "Your blades won't help you now. I'm going all out against you kids," yelled the man. "Kage Tamashiencho?" yelled Naruto as 2 clones grew out of his shadow that was created by Inferno's fire. "Let's go, Hinata!" he yelled as the 4 charged the nin. "Katon, fists of malice?" yelled the nin as his fists became covered with fire. Naruto's shadows reached him first and engaged him with their blades, but the fire from the fists was somehow able to black the knives. "The fire is so dense that it can block anything," he yelled as he slammed a fist into one of the shadows. It flew backwards with a large burn on its body. Naruto joined in with the shadow and were able to dodge his attacks. They also managed to get a good cut across his leg. The nin was hard-pressed to land a hit as Naruto and his shadow could see him at 2 angles. If Naruto was attacking, the other would defend perfectly. It was then that Hinata came into the fray from behind, but the nin expected that and dodged. However, her strike went right to Naruto's shoulder. Since he was wide open, he could do nothing to dodge the blow. He was launched across the clearing and slowly tried to stand up. Thanks to his momentary loss of concentration, his shadow stopped for 1 second. But that was all it took for it to be destroyed by a burning fist through its chest. Naruto got up and charged the nin, fully intent on helping his friend. Hinata herself could do nothing but dodge the burning fists. Each time he swung, he got a little closer to hitting her. It was at that moment that she tripped off a rock and watched as the burning fist traveled straight at her chest. She watched as the fist got closer and closer, so she closed her eyes expecting the worst. "At least I went down trying to protect Naruto," she thought. However, she felt nothing hit her, but did hear a grunt, scream of rage, and a splash of warm liquid on her face. She opened her eyes and saw the nin holding what used to be his arm. Then she spied in the corner of her Byakugan eyes Naruto holding his gut 20 meters away. The clothes were burnt and she could smell cooked meat. It made her nearly retch when she realized that it was Naruto she smelled. He must have taken the blow for her and delivered a crippling blow to their opponent. She couldn't believe that he took that blow for her. "You bastard! You cut off my arm. I'm going to kill you!" he yelled as he charged Naruto, who was barely on his knees staring at the Nin coming at him. Both of Naruto's shadows came in to stop him, but he just destroyed them with his last burning arm. They both broke apart and merged with the ground. She saw Naruto stab both of his blades into the ground and watch the Nin get closer. "This ends now," the Nin yelled as he cocked his last arm back to finish the fight. However, that did not work out as his arm was stopped mid-swing. He looked back and saw a black tendril wrapped around his arm. Then he felt things wrapping around his entire body. He struggled in a vain attempt to free himself from the tendrils that were slowly covering his whole body. "What did you do?" he yelled as he was dragged to the ground, the dark ground that showed nothing but a pit of darkness. Naruto looked up and met the eyes of the Nin and smiled. "This is my Kagesifuku. It will suck all the chakra and life from your body once you are completely covered. It has already started to drain your chakra," stated Naruto. "And oh, I will not die like this," Inferno shouted as he struggled even more. But it was to no avail as the shadow covered him completely, and he was nothing more than a mass of black on the ground. Naruto held it for a few seconds before he finally released the jutsu. What was left of Inferno was nothing but a pale body that looked like nothing but skin and bones. Hinata wasted no time and ran over to him. "Naruto-kun, are you all right?" she asked in concern. "Yeah, my body heals burns quickly. However, I don't think I will be training for the next few days," he stated as Hinata turned him on his back. "What are you doing, Hinata?" he asked in a surprised tone. "I'm looking at that burn. Now don't move until I say you can move," she ordered as Naruto looked at her with a confused yet proud look. She took out an ointment and started to spread it across his exposed chest. Immediately Naruto felt the stuff do some good as he stopped feeling the pain. "There. Now let's wrap that up," she exclaimed as she wrapped up his side for him. "Thanks, Hinata. Think you could help me up now?" he asked as Hinata pulled him up and supported his weight. "Thank you, Naruto, for saving me," she said quietly. "It was no problem, Hinata. I would do that for any of my precious people," he responded cheerfully, causing Hinata to blush and smile a bit. "Do you know where the others are?" he asked. "Sakura and Shino are on their way here. Sasuke and Kiba are with Kurenai and Kakashi. They are also on their way here. They all had to defeat other ninja," she said. "I'm glad they are all okay. Hey, we just beat a Jounin, Hinata. We are going to get so much money for this," Naruto exclaimed. "But don't we need proof that they are dead, Naruto?" asked Hinata. "That's why I took his hand when I cut it off," responded Naruto as he pulled out the hand of Inferno. "That is disgusting," exclaimed Hinata. "Yes, but I can buy new clothes with this. Ha ha ha, laughed Naruto. "You haven't stuttered for a while, Hinata," stated Naruto. "I know. I guess after something like that, there is no reason to be scared of anything anymore. Thank you, Naruto. You gave me so much courage today," said Hinata with a small smile at the end, and her cheeks got a little red. You know your voice is cute when you don't stutter, right?" he asked, which made her cheeks go bright red. "Thank you and Naruto," she stuttered out. "Ah, and you were doing so good too," said Naruto as Hinata had to look away to make herself not blush so much. "Hinata! Naruto!" they heard someone yell. Then from nowhere Kurenai appeared in front of them, but she had to dodge two kunai thrown at her by the pair. "I'm sorry, sensei," exclaimed Hinata in shock at the fact that she just threw a kunai at Kurenai. "Who cares about that? Are you two okay? Kiba, Sasuke, and Sakura have a few injuries. Shino didn't get hurt, but they weren't fighting a Jounin," exclaimed Kurenai as she checked the two over. "It's okay. I have a few scratches and bruises, but Naruto got caught by a fist of fire. It burned him pretty badly, but it has already started healing and I put my ointment on it before bandaging it," explained Hinata. "What happened to the Jounin?" asked Kurenai. "I killed, albeit it was a lucky attack. You should have seen Hinata. She was awesome. If it wasn't for her, we would be dead," exclaimed Naruto. "Congrats, Hinata. You two did great. I'll wait for the full story when we reach the others," said Kurenai as they began to walk back to the others, with Hinata still supporting Naruto. Hinata, do you think you cannot mention my trench knives? I don't want Sasuke to know about them unless he has to, asked Naruto. Of course, Naruto-kun. I don't even like Sasuke too much. He's too mean, she said as Naruto smiled. Thanks, Hinata-chan. You are the best, said Naruto as they entered the clearing where the others were. Well, it looks like the Dobe had some trouble with his ninja, stated Sasuke with a smirk as he saw Naruto's bandages. Yeah, I bet Sasuke didn't even have to sweat while he fought his opponent, exclaimed Sakura as Sasuke smirked and Kiba rolled his eyes. In fact, it was through sheer luck that Sasuke landed that killing blow to the back of the man's neck. The man thought he could endure 2 Getsugas and not move an inch. It was during that point that Sasuke was able to pierce his neck with a kunai, although they got the crap kicked out of them beforehand. Weren't you paying attention to what I told Kakashi-sensei? We barely won that match and it was through sheer luck that we won, said Kiba as Sasuke glared at him. Well, at least none of you got killed. How did you guys handle your opponent Shino? Asked Naruto. The girl was too brash and engaged Sakura in taijutsu. She didn't notice any of my bugs crawl on her and begin to suck her chakra. After defeating Sakura, her chakra was all but gone. She collapsed and I cut her throat, said Shino in a monotone voice that made Sakura wince, but Naruto smiled sadly at him. He saw Shino's eyebrows twitch and look at the dead body of the Nin, indicating that he was upset about taking a life. Well, how did Hinata and you do, Naruto? Asked Kiba. It was tough. He was stronger, faster, and more experienced than us. Luckily, he didn't take us seriously at first and we got some blows on him. Then he got serious and kicked our butts. Hinata distracted him while I got lucky with a finishing move. Hinata did awesome during the fight, said Naruto. You forgot that you were fight against a B-rank Jounin-level ninja from IWA that goes by the name of Inferno, said Kakashi as he stood up. This information caused everyone to look at Naruto and Hinata in surprise and anger. Kurenai was the only one who didn't look shocked as she found out from fighting that immortal freak. Sasuke was pissed. It was a no-name loser who fought against a Jounin and won. He also fought alongside that freak Hinata. What is it that gives him so much power? IT should be mine, not his, thought Sasuke as he glared at Naruto. Wow, you two beat a Jounin-level ninja? That is amazing. We should get Team 10 around and celebrate something like that, said Kiba as his dog was barking in excitement, and Shino nodded in agreement. They got lucky. Didn't hear him? He said that he defeated him with a lucky attack, shouted Sakura. Kakashi could only shake his head at 2 of his students. He would have dropped them by now if it didn't stop Naruto from taking the Chunin exams. Well, seal up the bodies and get ready to move. We will leave for Konoha tomorrow morning, said Kakashi as he turned around. Wait, Kakashi-sensei, how did your battle go? Asked Naruto. Your lucky leader-sama told me not to kill anyone. He just wants to test out that Jinchuriki in your team. Next time we meet, you will die, pussy, said the man as he retreated. Our opponent retreated after he found he could not win, stated Kakashi as they all sealed up their bounties and left for their own campsite, unaware of the one bandit that had escaped after witnessing Naruto and Hinata fighting. The next day, just after entering Konoha. So, sensei, how do we turn in bounties? Asked Naruto. You have to have a Chunin-level ninja or above turn it in for you. I can't help you today, as I have to report to the Hokage. You are all free to go for now, said Kakashi as he and Kurenai ran to the Hokage's tower. Well, Sasuke, I'm going to get my sister to turn this bounty in for us. Wanna go? Asked Kiba. As long as I get credit for the kill, stated Sasuke as he followed him. You can just collect that girl's bounty, Shino. My parents have enough money as it is, said Sakura as she didn't want to spend any more time with the creepy bug boy. Shino nodded and left for his own home, leaving Naruto and Hinata alone. Well, Irika is in class, so I don't know anyone who would do it for me. Do you know anyone, Hinata? Asked Naruto hopefully. Well, I could ask father, she said quietly. Well, let's go to your house then and ask him, said Naruto. Okay, but I'm not sure if he will, said Hinata as she led the way with Naruto following her. She had a blush on her cheeks as she was alone with Naruto once more. I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, you just defeated a Jounin-level ninja as a genin. What father wouldn't be proud of that? Asked Naruto as Hinata grew courage from his words. They soon made it to the Hyuga compound and were let in by the guards after seeing Hinata. They made their way through the building until they reached a door to a small building. This is father's study. You have to take your shoes off to enter Naruto. She told him as he did what he was instructed to. He knew that the Hyugas were a respected clan and it would be smart to act his best. Hinata knocked on the door and waited for her father to say she could enter. After a few minutes, they heard a person call for them to enter, so enter they did. Hayashi Hyuga was a proud man. Who wouldn't be proud of being head of one of the most prestigious clans in Konoha? Not much was said to faze him, but when his eldest walked into the room with Konoha's Jinchuriki, it actually surprised him. They both sat on two mats in front of Hayashi's desk and waited for him to talk. Naruto was a little unnerved by the man's gaze and was a moment's breath from making clones in case he was attacked. Hayashi observed the two for a few minutes before he decided to talk. The boy was on alert and he could tell that he was preparing a jutsu just in case. His daughter was nervous like always, but she wasn't shying away or fidgeting like normal. Interesting, was the only thing he could think to say. Hinata, explain to me why this boy and you are here to see me. He questioned her as he gazed at her with his emotionless eyes. Father. This one word was enough to surprise Hayashi, as he hadn't heard his daughter not stutter out his name in a long time. Naruto and I came to ask you if you would come with us to Konoha's bounty station, so that the two of us can deposit proof of a kill we collected on our last C-rank mission that was most likely bumped to being an A rank. Stated Hinata slowly and carefully as if she was afraid she would make a mistake. Why was this mission of yours bumped up to an A rank mission? Asked Hayashi. We encountered four missing nin alongside the bandit camp that we were sent to eliminate, said Hinata. What were their ranks? Asked Hayashi as Naruto was starting to get nervous. There were 2 Chunin and 2 Jounin. Naruto and I were able to fight and kill as Jounin by the name of Inferno. He was a B-rank missing nin from IWA and master of flame jutsu, said Hinata as Naruto showed his bandages in confirmation. Hayashi's eyes widened a fraction, but the 2 genin didn't miss this. He was surprised that they had defeated such a powerful Jounin. His mouth twitched upwards in a small smile. Very well, Hinata, we will go to the bounty office this moment. You have brought pride to the Hyuga family, he stated to the wide-eyed girl and the grinning Naruto. Hinata was surprised she had never once been complimented by her father. It made her smile that she was finally starting to live up to the expectations of her father, and it was all thanks to Naruto. I would like to hear the details of the battle while we are on our way, said Hayashi as they left the building with Naruto giving an account of the battle minus the shadow manipulation. The next day Naruto was training at Training Ground 7. He was using his weights while sticking rocks to his body with the leaf-sticking exercise while dodging wind jutsu and kunai being thrown by his clones. Is that all you've got? Yelled Naruto as he jumped into the middle of the clones and used too much chakra on the rocks attached to him. They all shot off and connected with every clones, causing a massive smoke cloud. Naruto smirked as he sat down by the memorial stone. He looked at all the names until he found the name of Minato Namikaze. Why did you choose me as the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi? Naruto asked himself out loud as he looked at the name. Did you know my parents and ask them to use me? There must have been a specific reason for using me. Was it because of the fact that I have blonde hair similar to yours? I'm your legacy, but I don't even know why you chose me. Why choose me from the 4 other kids born that day in the village? Thought Naruto as he began to run through all of the information he knew about the 4th Hokage. He had blonde hair, he had one of the strongest wind affinities ever known. He was the strongest Hokage in the history of the village. He had enemies all over the world that would do anything to make sure he and his children were dead, and he never asked anyone to do something he wouldn't do himself. No! Naruto whispered as he finally made the connection that was staring him in the face. It all made sense why there was no record of him being born. It was a cover-up to protect his life from Minato's enemies. Why Kakashi always called him the 4th's legacy. It wasn't because of the Kyuubi, but because he was the 4th's son. Tears leaked from his eyes as he figured out the truth. I need to talk to someone. Anyone. I just need to talk to them, he thought as he jumped from Training Ground 7 just as Sakura and Sasuke showed up. I wonder where that loser is going? Asked Sakura. HN, responded Sasuke, which made Sakura gush all about him being so cool. Naruto landed on the four-teacher's head and looked at the village that his father sacrificed so much to save, including himself. Why did it have to be me? He whispered to himself as he heard footsteps behind him. He had no other choice, Naruto. It was either you or the village, and sadly he had to choose the village. He loved you very much and cried when he made the decision to do this. Came the voice of Kakashi. It doesn't really matter, Sensei. I'm still going to make him proud, but I can't help to think that everything is a lie, said Naruto. The only reason you weren't told is due to the fact that we didn't believe you mature enough to know the truth. If you had known, you would have told everyone and IWA would have killed you by the end of the week, said Kakashi as Naruto nodded. Who was my mother, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki, a deadly woman who could make any man piss themselves just by glaring at them. She was a great woman, but sadly she died giving birth to you, Naruto. Now why don't you wipe those tears and let's go tell your team that we will be participating in the Chunin exams, said Kakashi as he put his hand on a now smiling Naruto's shoulder. I will make them proud as their son, Sensei, stated Naruto right before they disappeared. It was 3 days before the Chunin exam and Naruto was just walking through the streets of Konoha. He had been training hard all week, sharpening his skills so that he would pass the exam. He had learned 2 new jutsu and had improved greatly with his taijutsu and his knives. As he turned a corner, he spotted Hinata up ahead walking. Smirking slightly, he creeped up behind the unaware girl and yelled, "Hey, Hinata-chan!" Hinata eeped and turned around and slapped whoever scared her and sent them flying into a wall. It was after a few seconds that she realized that she had just slapped Naruto. "Naruto-kun!" she shouted as she went over to the dazed boy. "Ow! Remind me to never sneak up on you again, Hinata-chan." He laughed out as Hinata helped him to his feet. "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun. I didn't mean to do that at all. You just surprised me." She tried to apologize before Naruto just smiled at her. "It's okay, Hinata-chan, it is my fault for sneaking up on you." He laughed as Hinata smiled a bit. "Hey, you want to go on a walk with me, Hinata? Since we haven't seen each other since that time we went to Akimichi's barbecue in celebration of our mission?" asked Naruto. "He's asking me to go on a walk with him," Hinata thought as her cheeks turned red, but she managed to nod and the two were off. They talked about things like training, what they had been up to, their thoughts on the Chunin exams, and other meaningless things. That was until Naruto decided to turn around and yell at something. "Konohamaru, that is the worst disguise I have ever seen. Boxes have round sides, not corners," yelled Naruto as the box exploded in a puff of smoke. Out of the smoke came 3 kids doing a weird pose while introducing themselves as Moegi, Udon, and Konohamaru. "Haha, boss, I knew you would be able to see through my disguise. Just like what I expected from my rival," yelled Konohamaru. Hinata thought she heard Naruto whispering about never teaching again. "Boss, will you play ninja with us?" asked Konohamaru. "A ninja playing ninja? How pathetic are you, Naruto?" asked Sakura as she turned the corner and walked in between Naruto and Hinata. "Hey boss, who is this? Is she your girlfriend?" Konohamaru asked Naruto. "Hell no, not in 1,000 years," yelled Naruto as Sakura looked at him in annoyance, while Hinata blushed a bit. "Well, that's good. If I were you, I would hook up with the Hyuga girl. She isn't flat-chested like Pinky there," said Konohamaru as Sakura looked like she was about to explode and Naruto and Hinata were both blushing. Konohamaru, run!" yelled Naruto as Sakura charged at the poor boy. They followed him behind a corner and found Konohamaru being held up by a boy in a black suit. There was also a 15-year-old girl off to the side watching. Kankuro put the kid down. "We don't have time to be playing games," she stated. "Don't worry, Temari. I'm just going to teach this kid a lesson for running into me," said the boy as he raised his arm. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," stated Naruto as he drew his kunai. Hinata got into her own stance and Sakura just looked confused. "Yeah? What are you going to do about it, kid?" asked Kankuro as he raised his arm to strike the boy. That was when he felt the touch of steel at his throat. "Stick around and I'll show you," whispered Naruto's clone as it pressed the kunai tighter against his neck, drawing a little blood. Immediately Kankuro dropped the Konohamaru as he scurried behind the original Naruto. The clone immediately let go and poofed out of existence. "Damn it, Kankuro, I told you not to cause trouble," shouted the blonde. But the boy paid little attention as he grabbed the pack that was on his back. "This will only take a minute, Temari. That was nothing but luck right there," shouted boy. "Give it up. I could do that all day against someone like you. Besides, the red head in the trees doesn't look too happy," said Naruto as both Temari and Kankuro both looked deathly pale as they looked to the trees and spotted a red head in the tree. He reappeared in between the two groups in a cloud of sand and glared at Kankuro. "Enough, Kankuro. You are pathetic," said the red head with no emotion. "Jigaratish, they started it," stuttered Kankuro out. "Shut up or I will kill you," said Gaara as Kankuro immediately shut up. "Sasuke, get out of the tree, you look stupid," yelled Naruto as they all looked up to see Sasuke leaning against a tree while glaring at Naruto. He jumped down and glared at Naruto, while Sakura had hearts in her eyes about how awesome Sasuke was being. "Dobe, let me handle this. What are you doing here in Konoha?" he demanded in an arrogant tone. "Duh, they are here for the Chunin exams that take place in 3 days. Come on, Sasuke, we're taking the exams too," said Naruto as Sasuke just looked like an ass. "That is correct. Temari and Kankuro. Baki-sensei wants to see us immediately," said Gaara as Naruto and Hinata turned away. "Wait, what is your name?" asked Gaara. "Why would you care what his name is? He was the dead last at the academy while I was the rookie of the year. My name is Sasuke Uchiha," stated Sasuke arrogantly, while Naruto made gagging sounds to Hinata's amusement. "Not you, the one with blonde hair?" ordered Gaara, as Naruto looked up and smiled at him. "The name's Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you, Gaara," said Naruto. "Your strong mother will enjoy spilling your blood," stated Gaara with an insane smile, as he left with his brother and sister. "What a nice young man!" exclaimed Naruto cheerfully as he turned around and walked away with Hinata. Meanwhile, everyone was looking at him as if he was crazy. As soon as they passed a corner, Naruto looked at Hinata. "Promise me that if you have to fight him in the exams that you quit, Hinata?" asked Naruto suddenly. "Why? What's wrong, Naruto?" asked in concern and surprise. "Something about him gets my stomach upset. Stay away from him, please, Hinata?" asked Naruto as Hinata nodded, trusting his judgment. "Good. Let's finish this walk then," said Naruto as he grabbed her hand and dragged her around, while talking about all the secret passages he knew. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were all walking into the Ninja Academy. The exams were to be held on the 3rd floor, so why were there 15 people trying to get into a classroom on the 2nd floor? Before he could do anything, Sasuke walked up to and announced the trick to everyone there. "Seriously? Didn't you know that this must be like a test to weed out the groups not good enough to pass?" asked Naruto as the kids guarding the door charged their team. However, a boy that Naruto had seen once or twice before while exercising intercepted the kick with no difficulty. "He's faster than me without my weights," thought Naruto. "It is not wise to do fighting in such a cramped area," stated the boy. He had black hair cut like a bowl, huge eyebrows, and was wearing green spandex. "Lee, wasn't it your idea not to show our skills too early?" asked a girl who walked up. In Naruto's opinion, she looked like a panda. Their last teammate was a Hyuga, but unlike Hinata, his eyes weren't filled with kindness. His eyes were cold and held hints of hatred in them. "He reminds me of Sasuke, but a much better check on his emotions," thought Naruto. "Come on, let's head to the 3rd floor before we attract any more attention," said Naruto as they turned away from the other genin and headed for another staircase. However, they didn't get far before they were confronted by the black-haired genin with big eyebrows. "Hey, are you by any chance Sasuke Uchiha?" asked the genin. "Yes, I am. Why do you want to know?" asked Sasuke. "My name is Rock Lee and I want to challenge you to a friendly spar," exclaimed the Rock Lee loudly. Sure, I don't have much better to do. However, you won't be beating me, he said as they entered a gym. Just like a regular genius, my dream is to defeat a genius of your caliber. I will prove that hard work is the greatest strength of a shinobi, exclaimed Lee. Sasuke, we don't have time for this. We need to be at our best for the exams or we could lose them, said Naruto, but Sasuke just scoffed and stared at Lee. It won't take long for me to beat this loser, said Sasuke as he slid into his stance. Fool, Lee is even faster than me. You have no chance against him, thought Naruto as he got ready to intervene so no one got hurt. Naruto's fears were no unfounded though, as it didn't take long for Lee to break through Sasuke's defense. If the match had continued, then Sasuke would have been too hurt to participate and everyone on Team 7 would have been forced to quit before they even started. Luckily, Guy had intervened before anyone was hurt. Although Naruto kinda wished that he hadn't, as that illusion that the two spandex-wearing ninja used had scared his fragile little mind more than any other amount of torture. As they were leaving, Naruto decided to confront Sasuke on what he had just done. Sasuke, that was the stupidest thing I have ever seen. You are lucky that we are still allowed to participate. If you had been hurt, then I would have killed you myself, said Naruto in all seriousness. Shut up, Baka, shouted Sakura, before she found a knife at her throat. Shut your harpy mouth, Sakura, he growled out to her. Humph, that kid got lucky. Next time he won't be, said Sasuke arrogantly. Next time you are going to be dead, Sasuke, Naruto growled out as he pushed by him up the stairs. Sasuke resisted the urge that he had to plunge a kunai deep into his teammate's back as they walked up the stairs. No, Naruto is needed for now, at least until I make Chunin. After that I will stage his death. No need for weaklings in my village, thought Sasuke as they made it to the room. Outside, Kakashi was waiting for them to show up. So I see that you decided to take the exams. Be wary, people die on these exams when they underestimate opponents. Do not make that mistake and you will all do fine, stated their sensei before he was gone in a puff of smoke. As they entered, they were confronted by the glares of many different genin from different villages. Overall, they put on a pretty menacing appearance, although Naruto just wanted to laugh in all of their faces. Hey, looks like Team 7 is also taking the exams, came the voice of Kiba. Duh, I told you that 4 days ago, replied Naruto as he shook Kiba's hand. Well, some of us tend to forget things that aren't important, replied Kiba. Yeah, sure. Hey Hinata-chan, did you learn that new technique you have been working on in the past 3 days? Asked Naruto as Hinata smiled at him and slowly shook her head. No, Naruto-kun, but I am coming very close to finishing it, she said with a smile. That's good. I'm sure you will do it, Hinata-chan, said Naruto, before they were interrupted. Troublesome. It seems that all the rookie teams are taking the exam this year, stated Shikamaru as he walked up with Chuji and Ino following them. Hey Ino pig, what's with the face? Mad that I'm on the team with Sasuke-kun on it? Taunted Sakura. No, I'm just not too sure about taking the exams, she answered. Ha! Well, I got Sasuke-kun on my team to protect me from being hurt, said Sakura. I really want a new team, said Naruto as he grabbed both Chuji and Shino. What do you say, boys? Team 20, the massive bug fox team? Asked Naruto to the two guys who just looked at him like he was stupid. Fine, I just can't take these two anymore, said Naruto as most of the rookies, besides Sasuke and Sakura, smiled at him. You should all learn to be quiet, stated a voice from behind the group. They turned around and were faced with a white-haired genin that was wearing glasses. He looked friendly enough, but looks could be deceiving. What do you mean? Asked Sakura. It means that we are attracting too much attention and should learn to be quiet, said Naruto as they looked at all genin glaring at him. Well, anyway, I have a lot of information on these exams. You see, I have taken them 6 times now and have gathered a lot of information on genin. If you want, I can give you some information on some of the genin in the room, said the genin. First off, we don't even know who you are. Second, how do we know that your information is reliable? Asked Naruto as the others nodded in agreement. I'm sorry, My name is Kabuto Yakushi, and well, my information isn't totally reliable as it comes from these cards that I use to gather information on. It comes from the bingo books, observation, chakra sources, and fan clubs," said Kabuto to the rookie's confusion. "What?" asked Naruto. "Well, you see, fangirls stalk their interests and learn everything they can about them. That is why the information is more reliable than usual," said Kabuto. "I guess that does make sense," stated Naruto as the others nodded in agreement. "So do any of you have any specific genin that you want to know about?" asked Kabuto. "You have genin from each village, right?" asked Sasuke. "Yes, I do, from Konoha to the new Oto village. They are fairly new and probably don't have that many strong ninja yet," explained Kabuto as the Oto genin glared at the boy. "I want information on Gaara of the Desert, Rock Lee, and Naruto Uzumaki," demanded Sasuke as the others beside Naruto looked shocked. "Ah, you know their names?" whined Kabuto as he drew a card from the deck and channeled Chakra into the card. "Gaara of the Sand? It says his taijutsu and jinjutsu scores are low. Ninjutsu says that he has control of sand similar to that of the third Kazekage. He has completed 24 D rank, 13 C rank, and 4 B rank missions. He has also never been injured on any of his missions," stated Kabuto to everyone's surprise, including Naruto's. "He has never been injured in a fight? I'm gonna have to go all out if I want to fight someone at his level," thought Naruto as he glanced at the redhead. Rock Lee has absolutely on ninjutsu or genjutsu on his records. However, his taijutsu is off the charts for any genin. He has completed 59 D rank missions, 28 C rank, and 2 B rank, said Kabuto. "That didn't help me at all," thought Sasuke angrily. Now Naruto Uzumaki, also known as the Shadow of Konoha, according to the bingo books, started Kabuto. "What, I'm in the bingo books?" asked Naruto. "Why is he called the Shadow of Konoha?" asked Shikamaru as he looked at a nervous Naruto. Sasuke himself was extremely pissed that Naruto was in the bingo books and he wasn't. "Well, it says that he was witnessed causing the death of a B-rank missing nin by the name of Inferno. The abilities that were witnessed in the fight were shadow-based and similar to Inara's, but different in their own ways," explained Kabuto. "So he can use shadows, but his techniques differ from my clan's. I'm going to have to ask my father about this," thought Shikamaru. "He is wanted alive in the village of Iwagakure for questioning. It is unknown why he is wanted for questioning. His taijutsu skills are mid-chunin, ninjutsu is mid to high chunin, and jinjutsu is non-existent. He has completed 23 D-rank missions and 2 A-rank missions," stated Kabuto as the others looked at Naruto in awe. Just then 3 blurs entered their vision. Kabuto ducked under a punch and smirked at the 3 ninja that had come after them. Just then his glasses snapped in half and he bent over and puked. "Put this in your cards. The team from Oto is going to win this exam," declared the obvious leader. Just then a kunai landed in between them. "There will be no fighting during the exams unless told otherwise. Now sit down in a seat. Welcome to the Chunin exams," stated a ninja as others started to poof into the rooms. "So the Chunin exams have started. I am the proctor for the first exams. The name is Ibiki Marino. The first part will be a written test on skills that are important for a ninja to know. There are only 10 questions. Each person gets 10 points off the beginning," started the proctor. "Damn, a written test," thought Naruto as he still wasn't good at tests. "This is going to be too easy. Cha," thought Sakura. Thoughts similar to these two rang through the room. "For each question you get wrong, you will lose a point. If you lose 3 points, you will fail the test and your team will also fail," stated the proctor. "What? Why is it that the whole team fails if one person fails?" asked an IWA shinobi. "Because ninja teams are teams and you cannot proceed unless you have a full team. Now there will be no cheating. Each time you are caught cheating, you will lose a point," stated Ibiki. "Strange. Why would he tell us that cheating is prohibited as long as we don't get caught 3 times? Unless he is expecting us to cheat. Well played, you trench coat wearing troll," thought Naruto as he smirked at the proctor. "What is that Gaki smirking at?" thought the proctor as he scanned the nervous genin. When you are done, we will ask you all the 10th question. Once you have the test, you may begin, barked the trollish-looking man. Naruto got his test and immediately knew that cheating would be the only option. Only problem is that he didn't know any information-gathering techniques that could be used in this situation. Well, he did say that you could only lose points by answering incorrectly, thought Naruto as he sat back. In the corner of his eye, he could see Hinata taking glances at him in concern. She must be worried about me. I mean, she is the only one that knows almost all of my secrets. So Naruto just smiled at her, letting her know that he was fine. Sakura was already half done with her test and had time to actually think. These genin look so much tougher than me. They look at me like I'm nothing but a piece of meat. I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for Sasuke and Naruto. As she looked at Sasuke and noticed he had his Sharingan activated. So he is cheating? I thought that we would get kicked out if we were caught 3-tim. Of course we are supposed to cheat. What about Naruto though? I know he's strong, but does he have a technique to cheat effectively? Thought Sakura in concern. She had been thinking for the past few days and had finally come to realize that she needed to get stronger. If not for herself, then for Sasuke and Naruto. It wasn't too hard to tell that Naruto was just as strong as Sasuke, but she thought that she could get closer to Sasuke by supporting him. Since that didn't seem to work, she would go to Plan B. Plan B was to train and get just as strong as her teammates after the exam. Sensei will help me, I'm sure of it, thought Sakura as she finished her test. The doe better not fail for us. I know for a fact that he still isn't as good at information gathering as me. He may be stronger now, but I'm still got my strong areas, thought Sasuke. You know what? I will get all of these questions right just to show how awesome I am, thought Naruto as he began to think of a plan. If only I had enough time to concentrate on making my shadows. However, everyone would see me if I use a hand sign. I have to create a distraction. That's it, thought Naruto as he began to focus his mind on a task. 2 minutes went by before his plan came to fruition as a large cloud of smoke appeared in the room covering everyone's eyes. In that moment, Naruto made his modified hand sign and created a shadow of himself to sink amongst the room and copy other people's tests. Before the smoke cloud lifted, he dispersed the clones again, causing yet another smokescreen. He had already found Sakura with his shadow and was looking at the test. Dang, that woman is smart as hell. Too bad she doesn't do anything physical, cause she would be pretty good. Well, now nothing left to do before the test is over? Or maybe I can screw with some competitors using my shadow, thought Naruto as a devilish grin covered his face. What is that kid Naruto Gaki smiling about? Asked a number of proctors, Ibiki, students, and friends were thinking when they saw that grin. Suddenly, a series of totally random events started to happen across the room. Chairs were tipped, papers were thrown, and pencils were broken. A number of the more observant shinobi, or ones with a dojutsu, could see a blotch of chakra racing along the floor. The ones with the Byakugan were even more surprised seeing that it had its own chakra network. How can something like that have a chakra network? Asked Niji as he followed it with his eyes. Shikamaru himself had seen the black mass move stealthily across the floor and immediately started figuring out what it could be. It could be an enemy ninja or a technique that makes something invisible. Although it seems like a shadow is just moving across the floor like my clan's jutsu. He looked behind him and saw a smirking Naruto just eyeing the chaos with a sparkle in his blue eyes. So this must be one of those shadow techniques he has. It is both similar and different from my own. Whatever, it is too troublesome to think about. It didn't take long for teams to get kicked out of the exam. Many of them were new genin just doing it because their teammates thought they were cool. Ibiki watched in concern of the large group. There were 3 things that seemed strange to him about this year's exams. 1, there were 2 foreign Jinchuriki in the room if intelligence was anything to go by. 2nd, it seemed that there were at least 25 extra teams than usual in the exam this year. 3rd, he was sure that he recognized 1 or 2 shinobi from Kumo, but he wasn't sure. If my guesses are right, we will have more in the 2nd exam than ever before. I feel bad for those rookies if they make it past me. 20 more minutes of failed tests and small pranks by a certain blonde brought about the 10th and final question. Put your pencils down, it is time for the 10th and final question of the test. It will be asked orally and does not require either pencil or paper. Now you have two choices on this part. Stated Ibiki, pausing to create dramatic effect. He finished. You can either choose to quit the exam now or you can choose to take the question. Started Ibiki before he was interrupted. Well, that is stupid. Of course we are going to take the next question, shouted Kiba from the back. However, spoke Ibiki as if he wasn't interrupted. If you get the question wrong you will fail the test and never have the option to become a chunin ever again. Finished Ibiki as he smirked at the faces of the surprised genin. What? Shouted about 70% of the genin in the room, while the others seemed to be thinking about what he said or were too scared to talk. How can you do that? There are people here who have failed the test before and are taking it again. Shouted a IWA genin. Well, they never had me before my test. My rules. Stated Ibiki as the IWA genin looked devastated. Now if any of you are going to back out, raise your hands and your team and you will be escorted out. Stated Ibiki as immediately 3 hands shot into the air. Soon teams were leaving in mass while many of those that remained looked like they were about to panic. Naruto sat back analyzing everyone in the room. He could tell the man was lying by the way he talked. Besides, he would still become the Hokage even if he were a genin. Rank did not actually show the level of one's strength. It seems like Sakura and Sasuke are determined to move on. Maybe there is hope for the two of them in the future, thought Naruto as he looked around again and saw Hinata fidgeting. Dang, Hinata is probably worrying about Shino and Kiba to see through his lies. I have to do something before it is too late, thought Naruto as he saw Hinata begin to raise her hand. Hinata was scared. She wasn't scared for herself, but her 2 teammates. What if she got the question wrong and they were sent back because of her? She couldn't face the shame of failing them. I'm sorry, she thought before she began to raise her hand. Just then a loud bang alerted the room to Naruto's presence. I won't ever quit. Not until I'm dead will I ever quit in my dreams. I don't care if I am a genin forever, as rank doesn't measure someone's strength. It is just a term, let actions justify oneself. So go ahead, give me the second question, 'cause I will pass it just like everything else in my way, shouted Naruto in a determined voice. At this everyone in the room drew courage from Naruto in his act of courage. Anyone who was close to quitting now had determined faces on them. Naruto was staring at him with a small smile and a blush on her face. Damn kid wiped all of the doubt out of them. Dang, Anko is never going to let me hear the end of this, thought Ibiki as he glared at the genin. Is there anyone else who is going to quit? Asked Ibiki, but the resolve in their faces told him that they were all ready. Well then, for all of you that decided to stay, congrats on passing the first part of the Chunin exams, declared Ibiki as he smirked at the surprised faces of the genin. What about the 10th question? Asked Akumo Ninja. There was no 10th question. In the ninja world you will have to make decisions that are life and death. If you are not willing to put your life on the line, then there is no way for you to be a chunin, explained Ibiki. There will be times that you are asked to gain information. If you are caught, you will be expected not to give up any of your village's secrets. I am a living example of this, stated Ibiki as he removed his bandana to show the cuts on his head. Soon the proctor for the second started. The man before the windows of the building blew up and a round ball flew into the room before exploding. A banner popped up saying welcome, and a girl wearing a very revealing outfit was standing in the middle. All right, you maggots. My name is Anko Mitrashur and I am the proctor of the second exam. Wait, you left 36 teams past this year, Ibiki. You must be losing your touch, exclaimed the slightly crazy proctor. Maybe the contestants this year are just better than most, suggested Ibiki as he glanced at Naruto. Well, brats, congrats on making it this far, but it all changes. Follow me and I will take you to the location of the next exams, stated Anko as the genin didn't move that much. Slowly they followed her through the village. Along the way they could talk to each other and discuss plans. Hinata was slowly following her team, thinking about how she had nearly ruined it for them. I should have known it was a trick. If it wasn't for Naruto-kun, I would have given up. Hinata! She eeped as Naruto appeared on her side. Naruto-kun, why aren't you with your team? Asked Hinata quickly. Well, I wanted to talk to you, Hinata. If that is okay. I wanted to make sure that you were okay, stated Naruto as he smiled at her, causing her to blush. I'm okay. It's just I was so afraid of failing my teammates. I would gladly risk my life, but I could never risk their lives for my own reasons, said Hinata. I know you will, Hinata, and that is why I couldn't let you do that to yourself. You are one of the most important people in my life. Hopefully you won't have to make such a decision, said Naruto, oblivious to the blush on Hinata's face. You are one of the most important people in my life too, Naruto, said Hinata softly. She too was oblivious to Naruto's new blush. If we have to fight in the next exams, Hinata, I want you to know that you can always ask me for help, said Naruto. Thank you, Naruto. Hopefully we won't have to worry about that, Naruto, smiled Hinata. Unknown to the two of them, they were being stared at by a team of Kumo ninja. So the mission is to kill the container for the Ichibi and kidnap a Hyuga then? Asked a tan man. Yes, the Raikage has requested him to be killed due to him killing 3 teams of Genin 3 months ago. The Hyuga we will worry about after we have killed him. I was given a seal that will transport her to a team outside Konoha, said a teenage girl with blonde hair. That boy she is talking about looks familiar, stated a blonde teenager. He kinda does, however do not dive too deep into it. Our missions are to kill Gaara of the desert and capture the Hyuga heir, said the blonde girl. Why do we need the help of the other 3 Genin teams? The 3 of us are Chunin. Won't the Genin just get in the way? Asked the blonde teenager. We were ordered to have them assist us on the mission. They will be around just in case any other teams decide to interrupt our mission, explained the girl. Okay, I understand, Yujito, said the blonde as they stopped talking and followed the. Sasuke, what do you think Naruto and Hinata are talking about? Asked Sakura. I have no idea, said Sasuke as if he had nothing more to say on the matter. However, he did not stop. Sakura, is Naruto stronger than me? Asked Sasuke. Sakura hesitated for a second before answering Sasuke. Well, you are Sasuke, you are after all the rookie of the year. I know Naruto is stronger now, but he is still the same dope as before, said Sakura. I don't know what to think anymore. He is stronger than me now. I've always wanted to be strong to kill that man, but now I'm not sure what to think anymore. I will ask him for help. If he gives it to me, then that will be the end of it, said Sasuke as he walked up to the group in front of Anko. Okay, maggots, this here is the forest of death, she said, gesturing to the wall behind her that had signs warning people from entering. Here you will be taking the second exams. For the next 5 days your teams will be competing for a scroll that one of the opposing teams will have. Each team will receive either a heaven or earth scroll. The goal is to achieve one of each scroll, said Anko. What happens if we open one of the scrolls? A Genin asked. That is strongly advised against, but if you want you can at your own risk, stated Anko. So this is the forest of death? Doesn't look too bad, stated Naruto. However, he was interrupted from proceeding by a kunai that scratched his cheek. The brave ones are the first to die, Gaki, said Anko as he appeared behind Naruto with a kunai at his neck. However, to her surprise, Naruto exploded in a cloud of smoke. I guess you are right, Proctor, said Naruto as he handed her the kunai she had just thrown at him. Not bad, Gaki, but if you ever sneak up on me again I will kill you, she threatened as Naruto just smiled. Okay, brats, I want one person from each team to come up and grab a scroll at the front. Then we will have a 30-minute rest before the second exams. Wait, what are we supposed to do about food? Asked Chuji. You're a ninja, just hunt something down, replied Anko. 30 minutes later, all of the teams were ready. Each and every one of them had a reason for being there. Some were there to prove themselves, test themselves, pride, or orders. Yet every one of them would be unprepared for the horrors of the forest. With a quick whistle across the fields, teams raced into the forest. Surprisingly, Sasuke had given leadership to Naruto for the exams. A mile into the forest, Naruto decided to stop them. Why did we stop? Asked Sasuke as Sakura nodded in agreement. We need to discuss a strategy now that we are in here. We can either go to the tower and ambush other teams, or we can try to hunt a weaker team down, stated Naruto. I say we try to find another team, that way the competition has a better chance at being weaker, said Sasuke. Okay, that sounds good. Now we have to deal with a certain mole in the trees, said Naruto as Sasuke nodded and Sakura looked confused. Crap, did they notice me? Thought a shinobi in a yellow jumpsuit. He was right as he had to jump down to avoid a cluster of kunai thrown at him. So you kids were able to notice me, huh? Doesn't matter. Hand over your scrolls and I will let you all go, said the shinobi as Naruto started to laugh. You think you can take us? Sasuke here alone is Chunin level, Sakura is mid-genin, while I am also Chunin level. Now I say you run before we are forced to kill you, stated Naruto as they all pulled kunai out. You will mistake that, said the shinobi as he threw 3 shuriken at them. Doubt it, stated Sasuke from behind the masked shinobi. His eyes widened as he was kicked in the back across the clearing. You can't even follow me with your eyes. Surrender or we will kill you, stated Sasuke. Never, said the nin as he started to make hand signs. However, he was forced to stop as his body was unresponsive. I guess I can do some of Shikamaru's moves, stated Naruto as he held a hand sign. At the feet of the nin his shadow had connected with Naruto's. Dobe, what is that? Asked Sasuke in mild confusion and shock. Well, it turns out, Sasuke, that I have an affinity for shadow jutsu like a Nara, but my chakra is much more dense. This enables better control with the shadow, but at a massive chakra drain, said Naruto. I thought you were an orphan like me, said Sasuke. I am an orphan, my jutsu are just similar. My affinity allows me to do things that no Nara can do. Think of it like this, without the blades he wastes twice as much chakra, with the blades it is near perfect control. Over time Naruto will seek to control it better, explained Naruto. Damn you, let me go, said the rain nin. No, now do you have your scroll? Asked Naruto. You think I would be stupid enough to leave my team with the scroll? Said the nin. Good point. Sasuke, kill him, said Naruto as Sasuke smiled and slit the nin's neck to Sakura's horror. How can the two of you just kill like that? Asked Sakura in shock. Easily. Despite Sasuke and me hating each other, we know what it takes to survive in the ninja world. Unlike you, Sakura, not once have you ever tried to get stronger. You aren't mid-genin level like I told that nin. You are perhaps high academy level. If you do not wise up soon you will die. Enough said, said Naruto as Sakura was ready to cry. I do not hate you, said Sasuke softly. What? Asked Naruto in confusion. Did Sasuke just say that he didn't hate him? I said that I do not hate you. I am jealous of you, shouted Sasuke at the end. Why would you be jealous of me, Sasuke? Asked Naruto softly as he had never seen this part of Sasuke. Everyone likes you. You are getting stronger and stronger when I am staying at the same level, shouted Sasuke as Naruto just blinked. You think everyone likes me, Sasuke? How could you say that when you have 70% of the council kissing the ground you walk on? 90% of the village would love for you just to talk to them and you are prodigy. If anyone should be jealous, it should be me, said Naruto. As Sasuke was about to retort, Naruto continued. I am hated by most of the village for something that I had no control over. It wasn't until this year that I began to get stronger, and that was to protect you too and the ones that are precious to me. I wasn't taught at an early age like you were, and I don't know what it is like to lose my family. But that is because I never had one. They both died on the day I was born, said Naruto. Sasuke was looking at his teammate in shock. Who could have known that his life was just as hard if not harder than his own? Maybe there is another path? I know about your brother Sasuke, what he did that night to you and all of the Uchiha. After I found out, I was planning on being your friend, but you shut everyone off from you. If you can let go of your hatred for 1 second, maybe you can see that you are not alone in your quest for vengeance. You have the entire village behind you to kill him, said Naruto. I can't. It has to be me who kills him for the Uchiha, shouted Sasuke as a war raged in his head about what he was going to do. Why does it have to be you? If you would just ask for help, your chances would increase greatly, explained Naruto as Sasuke just looked conflicted. Why are you helping me now? asked Sasuke after he had finally calmed down. Because I don't want someone so similar to me to fall into darkness like I nearly did. Revenge can lead to many things and happiness is not one of them. You will fall into the void and never escape, stated Naruto. I don't know Naruto. I don't know what to think right now, answered Sasuke. You don't have to decide for now. For now, let's put the past behind us and look to the future, said Naruto as he extended his hand to Sasuke. Deal, said Sasuke as he smirked and shook his hand. Yes, I have now decided to make Sasuke good as I have thought of something new in the story. I will be leaving clues in the context to point to where Naruto's shadow powers come from. It does not come from an anime, but a video game that kicks butt. Now let's go find us a scroll, said Naruto as they jumped into the forest. Sasuke had a smile on his face, while Sakura was little saddened, but determined. Damn that monkey, thought a pissed-off Orochimaru as he dodged a few shuriken being launched at him. You see, Orochimaru had tried to infiltrate the exams, but had failed due to a lucky patrol spotting him. Now he was running from a team of 6 ANBU with orders to finally kill him. I may not be able to mark the Uchiha today, but when I finally invade he will be mine and so will his Sharingan, thought Orochimaru as he ran past the walls of Konoha. Hinata was downright scared at the moment. Her team had just witnessed the Sand Team, more specifically the one Naruto warned her about just brutally. We need to leave before they notice us, stated Kiba as Shino nodded in agreement. Let's get going, said Hinata. However, they soon froze when they saw Gaara looking in their direction. Mother is not satisfied. Maybe she will be after I take their blood, said Gaara as his teammates looked at him and shocked and looked at Team 8. Team 8 jumped out knowing that their presence was detected. After seeing his attacks, they knew their only chance was to escape. You were the one with the blonde? Asked Gaara as his siblings also remembered meeting her. Yes, I was, stated Hinata defiantly as her teammates looked at her in surprise. Naruto told me to avoid you, she stated. It's too bad you didn't heed his warning, stated Gaara as his sand swirled around him. Well, will you look at this? Both of our targets have found each other. This will be easier than I thought, said a voice from above them. Both the Sand Team and Team 8 looked to the trees to find themselves surrounded by 4 Kumo teams. What the hell is this? Yelled Kankuro as he now had his puppet out and Temari had her war fan out. What does Kumo want with us? Asked Kiba. Oh, this here is nothing. We were just running through the trees and happened to stumble upon the Jinchuriki of one-tailed demon and an unsealed Hyuga girl. Then I remembered that we had a mission to kill the person responsible for killing my cousin and kidnapping said Hyuga, said a blonde-haired girl who was obviously the leader. Seeing as how they were outnumbered, Team 8, Kankuro, and Temari got close to each other. Gaara didn't care for the others and he summoned a massive amount of sand. It doesn't matter. Mother will taste all of your blood, yelled Gaara as sand shot at the girl. However, the sand didn't reach her as a ball of blue fire hit the sand causing it to fall to the ground. Please, that sand of yours can't stand against the power of the two-tailed demon. Darui, take the puppet user. Omoi, take the one with the fan. You 3 teams kill the 2 males. Leave the Hyuga alive for transportation back to Kumo, stated the leader as the 3 Genin teams grinned in anticipation. Hinata, we can hold them off for a few minutes, but you have to run, said Kiba as Shino nodded in agreement. I won't leave you 2 here. I'm staying with you, replied Hinata as she activated her Byakugan. That is a logical, Hinata. Death is a better ending than what they will do to you, said Shino. I refuse to leave you 2 behind. I cannot just let you 2 sacrifice yourselves, replied Hinata as she now got into her stance. If that is what you wish, Hinata, said Shino as cloud of bugs exited his body. Yeah, we can do this, shouted Kiba as he immediately turned Akamaru into a clone of himself. You can try, yelled one of the Kumo Genin as he went through a few hand signs. Katan, burning web, he shouted as he breathed a small flame in front of where he stood. Immediately the flame split off into 3 directions and after so many feet it would split into 3 lines, creating a web of flames off the ground that was 6 inches tall. Team 8 jumped back, but were now separated from each other and could not use their teamwork skills. It was now one team versus a single genin, and the odds did not look good for Team 8 or the Sand team now that Gaara was fighting someone at his level. Naruto ran at the head of Team 7, scanning for any trouble. His shadow clones did the most work as they were hinged as animals, looking for anyone. He knew it was only a matter of time before they reached the tower with a scroll, but he had an uneasy feeling for the past 2 minutes. It was as if there was something was wrong and he needed to act. However, he couldn't focus on what he felt. It was as if he was disconnected from his own senses. This is ridiculous. All of my senses are as perfect as could be. It must be something different, but what? It was then at that moment that he felt the seal on his wrist burn for a brief second. He immediately stopped, with Sasuke and Sakura stopping too and looking at him curiously. "What's wrong?" asked Sasuke as he had a kunai out in case of trouble. "My wrist is burning," said Naruto to the confused looks his teammates were giving him. "That is why we stopped?" asked Sasuke as he was a little ticked to have stopped for such a stupid reason. "Just trust me on this one, Sasuke," said Naruto as he made a seal and a poof of smoke covered his hand. Now in his hands were his 2 black crescent blade trench knives. Sasuke and Sakura both looked at the knives in wonder, as they had never seen Naruto with them before. "What are those?" asked Sasuke as Sakura looked at Naruto in agreement of Sasuke's question. "These are my shadow blades, Sasuke. They allow me greater control over my shadow chakra when I use them. Now be quiet and let me think for a second," said Naruto as he closed his eyes. "What is this feeling I'm getting from these? I feel fear, terror, weakness, and yet determination. Someone is fighting for their lives right now, but who?" thought Naruto as he focused as much as he could on the feeling. Slowly an image forged itself in his mind. It was blurry at first, but the more he focused on it, the clearer it got until he could make out what the picture was. To his surprise and horror, it was of Shino, Kiba, and Hinata fighting a group of ninja. Shino and Kiba looked like they had a few injuries and were being cut off from Hinata. Hinata herself looked like she was exhausted and couldn't keep up much longer. There was one Kumo ninja on the ground dead or just knocked out. He couldn't tell, but what he could tell was that the fight wouldn't last much longer unless they got some help. Just then a kunai whizzed past Hinata's defenses and struck her in the knee, causing her to go down. Naruto watched how Hinata cried out in pain and how the Kumo ninja smiled victoriously. "Hinata!" screamed Naruto as he exited this vision. Quickly turning in the direction he believed she was, he dashed off to save her. Sasuke and Sakura were both startled, but had no choice but to follow. It was at this time that they realized that Naruto was fast. "What was that all about?" asked Sakura as she struggled to stay in sensing range of Naruto. "The hell if I know. I didn't even know he could use trench knives like that," said Sasuke as he followed Sakura, as he didn't have any sensing abilities. Hinata was trouble, and that was the only thing that was running through Naruto's mind as he sprinted through the woods. "I will not fail you, Hinata. You are my best friend. I swear that I will make them pay for ever hurting you," whispered Naruto as he created 10 clones. Hinata could barely stand as 5 Kumo Genin surrounded her. Shino and Kiba were both being stalled by the 3rd team that was attacking them. Gaara and Yujito were duking it out and causing devastation in the area they were fighting. Kankuro and Temari were fighting a stalemate with their opponents, so she was all alone. "Just surrender already and we will let your teammates go," said the leader of the 2 teams attacking her. He had jet black hair and could use lighting jutsu effectively. This had 2 effects while fighting her. One, it could keep her at a distance by launching bolts of lighting at her, and it made fighting him up close just as dangerous. From what she could tell, he was high chunin level, 2 of them were low chunin and the other 2 were genin level. Luckily, she had scored a fatal blow to an overconfident genin who thought fighting her in taijutsu would work. "I'm not giving up," Hinata stated with all the courage she could muster. She was running on fumes and favoring her right leg as her left was stabbed by a kunai. The only way she was getting out of this was if help arrived. "I was hoping you would say that, princess," said the chunin-level genin. Electricity gathered in his palms as he prepared a jutsu. Hinata got focused on him as he brought his hands into the sky. That would be her downfall as the 4 other genin threw kunai in a circle around her. "Return! Screaming prison!" shouted the nin as he shot a bolt of lightning at one of the kunai. The bolt arced between each kunai, creating a crisscross pattern with Hinata in the middle. True to the name of the Justa, Hinata screamed in pain as lightning circulated through her body. She couldn't move, think, or speak as the pain was unbearable. The only thing she could see was the sick, twisted grin the genin had while he continued to feed chakra into the technique. "I hope you like this technique. It is meant to trap and incapacitate people for a given amount of time. Soon you won't be able to move or scream, but you will be able to feel everything that happens to you," he said as Hinata collapsed to the ground, unable to stand or scream anymore. The Kumo ninja finally disabled the jutsu and walked over to the semi-paralyzed Hinata. "It's a good thing too, as I'd like for you to feel everything that I do to you while my teammates take care of everyone else," he said as Hinata watched him in horror as he grabbed her hair and lifted her to his eye level. "After all, the Reikage only wants you alive. He never said we couldn't do things ourselves to such a pretty girl like yourself," he said with a sick smile. "Hinata!" yelled Kiba as he rushed past his opponent. He didn't make it far as another Kumo ninja intercepted him and kicked him into a tree right next to an unconscious Akamaru. Shino joined his teammate and again they rushed towards Hinata. Shino's bugs flew out and blocked a kick by the same Kumo nin, and Kiba launched forward. However, just before his fist made contact with the nin who was holding Hinata, a bolt of lightning hit him in the chest. "HHH!" screamed Kiba as he was shot back into a surprised Shino. Together the two landed in a heap and struggled to get to their feet. Just then a barrier of lighting flew up around them, trapping them. "That barrier will keep you too busy. Why don't you just sit back and enjoy the show? After Korwa has his way with her, everyone else will get a go. That is unless Yujito-sama finishes early with that sand brat," said the nin who was holding up the barrier. "Shino, are your bugs draining this barrier?" whispered Kiba as soon as the nin turned. "Yes, but it will take a little time for them to do so," he said sadly. "By that time," said Kiba sadly as he looked down. "Yes," replied Shino as a tear slid down below his sunglasses as he too looked away. Hinata could only watch in horror as the Kumo nin pulled his pants down along with his underwear. She tried to close her eyes, but they didn't respond. The only thing she could do was cry as he ripped off what remained of her sweatshirt. She looked down as her tight shirt was revealed beneath. She would not look into the eyes of this sick monster. "Didn't know such a small girl like you could hide such things in a sweatshirt. This will be much more enjoyable for me that I," said the nin before he fell silent. The next thing she heard was the sound of something heavy hitting the ground. "Korwa!" she heard one of the Kumo nin scream. She opened her eyes to be met with the sight of the nin, who was about to rape her, holding his neck as blood flowed from his neck. She looked up and saw to her surprise and joy Naruto standing over her with both of his trench knives out and a dark look on his face. "I'm sorry for not getting here sooner, Hinata," he said as he glared at the 7 Kumo nin who were facing him. Naruto glared at the 7 Kumo nin around him. Judging by their looks, he had just killed the strongest of their group. "If any of you lay so much as a finger on Hinata, I will rip you to pieces," shouted Naruto as he got into his stance with the trench knives at the ready. "Ha, you just got lucky with killing Korwa. Damned idiot always stops paying attention when he is about to get some fine-looking ass," said one of the Kumo nin. Naruto glared at that nin as he started channeling chakra into making 2 of his shadows. "You can believe that, or you can come at me and die," said Naruto. "Damn cocky leaf nin," yelled one the other Kumo nin. He ran at Naruto with 2 kunai drawn. Unfortunately, he didn't make it far as he suddenly stopped moving and hunched over. Slowly the body lifted up and his fellow nin could see a trench knife sticking in his stomach. It was attached to an arm that was all black and sticking out of a shadow. Slowly the shadow began to rise and take shape in the form of Naruto. The shadow sliced the nin's neck to make sure he was dead and joined his leader along with the other shadow that formed up beside Naruto. "What the hell are those things?" asked one of the Kumo nin. "Doesn't matter. He won't be able to stand up to all 6 of us. I will stay back and launch my jutsu on the original. Each one of them will get 2 of us to fight," said the leader of the group. This was the same one who had imprisoned Kiba and Shino earlier. "Return, bolt!" shouted the nin as he shot a bolt of lightning at Naruto. The 3 Narutos jumped in different directions and charged the enemy. Naruto blocked the blades of a katana from the genin, protecting the new leader. "You're pretty good with that sword of yours. Too bad you're not good enough," shouted Naruto as slammed the sword away and kicked the genin in the face. He then continued onward to the leader, who had gathered quite a bit of lightning chakra. "You think I will go down that easily? Now I will show you why the Reikage has taught me one of his strongest jutsu," said the nin. "Return, lightning armor!" he screamed as his body was encompassed by a shield of lightning. Grinning at Naruto, he disappeared. "What?" thought Naruto before he felt a strong punch to his gut that sent him flying back. Naruto slowly pulled himself up and saw the boy grinning at Naruto with a face that clearly said that he was going to win. "Give up already. We outnumber you 7-1. Just tell me how you think you can win," he stated. Naruto just smirked at the genin for a second. "You are a fool if you believe having such a powerful jutsu makes you invincible. Besides, it's only 7-3. Stated Naruto as a giant ball of fire flew through the air towards the new leader and 2 of the genin. The leader and 1 of the genin were quick enough to dodge, but the last and weakest one of the group was unable to escape. A scream ripped through the air as he was burned alive. "Nice for you to finally get here, Sasuke. Sakura, I want you to free Shino and Kiba and then get Hinata to safety. You aren't any use to us at your current level," ordered Naruto as Sasuke nodded. "But..." Sakura trailed off as Naruto glared at her. "Move it, Sakura!" yelled Naruto. Sakura quickly bolted for the imprisoned Shino and Kiba, while Naruto just got back in his stance and waited for the Kumo nin to attack. "Dobe, what is the plan here? That kid is using a jutsu unique to the new Reikage," asked Sasuke as he pulled out a kunai. "You will take the 2 on the far left. I will take the 4 on the right. My clones should be able to handle them. Personally, I want to kill this bastard for what he said about Hinata," said Naruto as he glared at the Kumo nin. "What are their abilities?" asked Sasuke. "One uses weak water jutsu and is genin level. The other uses earth jutsu and is low chunin level. You better be able to handle that team," said Naruto as if he was challenging the Uchiha heir. "Just look out for yourself, Dobe," said Sasuke. Meanwhile, the Kumo nin leader glared at the 2, waiting for them to come up with a plan. It didn't matter if they did, as he was confident that he would be able to crush them with his power. "Enough!" shouted the leader as he charged at Naruto. "I got this, go!" shouted Naruto as Sasuke leapt away. The leader closed in on Naruto before he could react and caught him right in the chest with a massive punch. However, Naruto didn't even move as the leader looked down at his hand that was now sticking out of Naruto's back. He smirked as blood gushed out of the room and Naruto shuddered for a second before he became still. That smirk changed, however, when Naruto's body began to turn black and sink into one of the tree's shadows. "That's a nifty jutsu, eh?" said Naruto from behind the leader. "It is, especially considering that you don't need hand signs to do it," said the leader. "Just one of my many talents," said Naruto as he waved his trench knives and crouched down. I can also see that you have 2 more of those clones fighting the other 3 while we have our battle. What is your name, Leaf Shinobi?" asked the leader. "It's polite to introduce yourself before answering," replied Naruto. "The name is Buritsu, cousin of the Reikage," said the leader. "Naruto Uzumaki," stated Naruto as he charged Buritsu. "Too slow!" he heard from behind him. Buritsu faded from view. Naruto rolled to the side as a fist impacted the ground he had just stood at for a second. Lashing out with his heel in a spin, he connected with Buritsu. However, he did not take into account that his body was covered in electricity and was shocked and flung away. "Damn, that is one hell of a defense," thought Naruto as he stood up. Quickly ducking to avoid yet another punch, he jumped back and flew through a few modified hand seals while holding his knives. "Kage, Shadow Spear," shouted Naruto. 3 black spears shot out of the ground aimed at vital places on Buritsu's body. It did not work as each of the spears were blocked by the shield of lightning. "Damn!" cursed Naruto loudly as one of his fastest attack jutsu didn't work. Once again he was forced on the defensive as Buritsu kept up the pressure. Slowly Naruto began to give way and was forced to release the weights he had. This didn't do any good as he still couldn't pass through his defense. "This is one of the greatest fights I have ever had. It is too bad I'm going to have to kill such a strong opponent," said Buritsu as Naruto tried to think of a strategy. In the corner of his eyes, he could see that the barrier holding both Shino and Kiba finally gave way, but not from any external factors. "He must be running out of chakra," exclaimed Naruto in his mind. However, he was unable to make do on that threat as he felt a great wave of force crash into him. Naruto flew through the air and smashed through 3 trees before finally stopping. He coughed up blood as he got to his knees. The blow had destroyed a few organs and broke a few bones. It also made him dispel his shadows and his blades disappeared into his seal. "You were a worthy opponent, but you lost focus and will now die at my hands. What is this? I didn't think you would be able to move for at least a few hours after an attack like that," asked Buritsu. The sudden change in where the conversation was going caused Naruto to look up despite the pain. There he saw Hinata standing there between him and Buritsu. She favored her one leg and was shaking like a leaf. "I won't let you hurt him," she declared. "It doesn't matter what you let me do. You can barely stand as it is," yelled Buritsu as backhanded her and sent her flying over to where Naruto was. She landed less than a foot from Naruto, and the two looked at each other for a second before Hinata shuddered. "Hinata?" asked Naruto carefully as he watched her eyes look at him for a second before they rolled up into her head. Her body went limp and still as if she were asleep. Naruto's mouth hung open as his brain processed what he had just witnessed. Hinata, his best friend, the girl he was developing feelings for, the only person he could talk to, and the gentlest person in the world was dead. His eyes grew wide as he crawled over to her. He grabbed her hand and let a few tears roll from his eyes as he watched her lifeless body. "The girl should have just stayed down on the ground. I wouldn't have had to kill such a beautiful girl. It is a shame as her body would have been a prized possession of mine," said Buritsu with no emotion. Naruto grit his teeth and felt a great anger flow through his body. His aches and pains began to go away. "How dare he hurt my Hinata?" he screamed at the end of his question, and suddenly everything went red. X, 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 X. "Ha ha ha, bet you thought that was the end. LOL. Shino and Kiba were just a little too late. They saw their sister in all but blood stand up and face a ninja that had just destroyed Naruto. They were also witness to her death and Naruto's breakdown. Suddenly a burst of intense killing intent spread through the area, making all of the fighting stop. Even the fight between Gaara and Yujito stopped, even though they were now about a mile away from where the initial fighting started. Naruto's body was suddenly expelling massive amounts of evil red chakra that surrounded him and Hinata. Mixed in with the red chakra was pure black clouds of chakra that flowed into Hinata and what appeared to be Naruto's tattoos on his wrists. Naruto's body began to heal up and his eyes turned from bright blue to dark red. His hair grew wild and his fingernails grew into long black claws. He slowly stood up into a crouch and a chakra tail ejected out of his lower back. "What is Naruto?" asked Kiba. "Naruto is a mystery," stated Shino as he was figuring why the shroud of chakra seemed to be protecting Hinata from harm even though she was dead. "What the hell is this?" exclaimed Buritsu. "I will kill you," shouted Naruto as he charged at Buritsu at speeds matching his, but not before killing the last of the genins trying to deal with him. Buritsu met him head-on and clashed fists with the enraged genin. To his surprise, his lightning was disrupted and he felt his knuckles being burned by the evil chakra. He jumped back and Naruto was right on him again. His hands were flexed like claws and were swiping at vital points on his body. This continued for an entire minute before Buritsu got annoyed. "That is it. I will crush you at full power," shouted Buritsu as even more lightning chakra gathered around him. He launched at Naruto again and connected with his jaw, but Naruto didn't move a step from the position he was in. "Is that all?" asked Naruto as a second tail shot out of his back. Naruto punched the air in front of him and Buritsu felt the force of the punch 5 yards away. "I will kill you!" shouted Naruto again as his hand morphed to a giant black chakra fist that was flying at Buritsu. The fist connected with him and sent him flying back. Burn marks appeared all over his chest where the black chakra fist hit him. He slowly got up and held his burnt chest. His chakra was nearly gone and all of the damage he had done did nothing to the demon in front of him. His armor sputtered for a second before staying up after he charged up the last of his reservoirs. This was no longer for the mission, but for his honor in defeating this genin. No matter what he was going to die, his team was dead and he was one of the last left of the group and was suffering from chakra exhaustion. "This is the end," yelled Buritsu as his armor exploded around him in a fierce display of power. "For you that is," yelled Naruto as his crimson cloak started to change to more of a black cloak. His hand was completely covered in the shadowy black chakra as he charged one last attack. The two raced at each other with as much chakra as they could gather. Their fists connected with a great blast of black and blue chakra as they struggled to overpower each other. Just then Naruto's black attack doubled in size as he smirked in victory. "Die!" yelled Naruto as his black chakra completely plowed through Buritsu's attack and armor. The Kumo nin Buritsu was nothing more than a few scraps of blood, bone, and flesh after the attack was over. Naruto lowered his burnt hand and walked over to where Hinata's body was. Black and red chakra flared around his body as he approached his friend. "I will save you," stated Naruto as all of his black chakra suddenly flew from him into Hinata. With the absence of the black chakra, Naruto fell to the ground passed out just when Sasuke eliminated his last opponent. "What is he?" were the thoughts of Shino, Kiba, Sakura, and Sasuke. That was pushed to the side as they raced over to where Naruto and Hinata lay. They found both of them still breathing and overly okay. Hinata didn't even look like she had a single wound. "We should get our scrolls and get to the tower as soon as possible," said Sasuke. "I already did that, Sasuke. We can use them to barter with if we are attacked later," said Sakura. "We need an earth scroll," said Shino as Sakura nodded at him. "Well, it is a good thing that they had two then," smiled Sakura. "Okay. I will carry the dobe here and Sakura will carry Hinata. Let's get out of this god-forsaken forest," said Sasuke. Chapter 4 Preliminaries. Drip, 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 drip. Why was it so dark? All he could see was darkness, vast amounts of darkness. From what he could tell, he was stuck in ankle-high puddle of water, some sort of sewer or shed as he could hear the dripping. "Where the hell am I? I was fighting that Buritsu guys and then I'm here in this dark abyss," shouted Naruto in his mind as he took a step further looking for some sort of object. He walked along for a few minutes just reaching out in the darkness trying to find something to grab a hold of. His thoughts drifted to the fight and what transpired during the contest of strength. However, those thoughts focused on blue-haired girl that was possibly his best friend. Seeing that man about to do something so evil to someone that was as nice and caring as Hinata drove him over the edge. Not even when Mizuki had nearly killed Iruka-sensei, or when Haku had turned Sasuke into a human pincushion had he been so angry. 3 times now he had lost people that were close to him. Sure, Iruka-sensei was just a teacher and Sasuke was, well, a bastard, but that didn't matter to him. The two of them were connected by the pain that they shared. However, Hinata was pure. He could see a deep pain in her eyes and loneliness that rivaled Sasuke's and his own eyes. Yet, unlike the two of them, her thoughts weren't evil and bent on revenge and trying to suppress the thoughts of death. Naruto wasn't blind, he could tell that Hinata hurt just as much if not just a little less than him. That is what hit him the hardest. How the kindest, most pretty, and modest girl could harbor such loneliness. His heart ached whenever he saw her with those eyes that showed so much loneliness in them. If it hadn't been for the wave mission and Haku, he would have never noticed it before. But what could be the cause of such eyes on such a pure person? It couldn't be that she was an orphan, as he knew the Hyuga were a very large clan in Konoha. She had friends in the academy, as Kiba and Shino were always acting like brothers to her. So why did she have those eyes that did not belong to such a beautiful face? Every memory that he could remember from before the bandit camp and fighting that jounin about her came to his mind. She had always been shy around him and getting red in the face as if she were angry or sick. However, her body language never once suggested that as the case. It wasn't till after the bandit camp that he could have a conversation with her and not worry about her fainting. So why did Hinata's safety and well-being weigh so heavily on his mind, while people like Sakura, Irika, and Gigi not affect him so much if they were in such trouble? Just then Naruto heard a deep chuckling come from the dark. Naruto turned in circles as his eyes struggled to adjust to unyielding darkness. It seemed as if the chuckling came from everywhere at once. Even Zabuza and his mist didn't instill this much fear into Naruto. However, he wouldn't bow down just because he couldn't see this person who was mocking him in the dark. You are a foolish boy. Your dreams mean nothing, and you lack the will to do what needs to be done, boomed a voice from the darkness that came from everywhere at once. Who the hell are you? Come on out and I will show you how much will I have, yelled Naruto as he gripped as much inner strength as he could. As if you could. You lack the understanding to see what is in front of you. Despite all that you have done, you will never be a real ninja, yelled the voice as Naruto spun around in terror. Damn you! You have no idea who I am. I will become a great ninja and become Hokage, yelled Naruto. You are weak and meaningless. If you were so strong, then explain to me why you were unable to save Haku, Zabuza, or that Hyuga girl that you care for so much, yelled the voice. Naruto was visibly shaken by this piece of information. Tears sprung to his eyes as he looked down, but saw nothing but darkness. Darkness. It was the only thing he should be allowed to see. Out of all the things the voice had said, the one about Hinata had been the worst. It was true, as he was unable to defeat Buritsu without using the Kyuubi's chakra. However, there was something that was bothering him. Somehow he had regained control of himself after the start. It was weird. It seemed that there was something helping him control the Kyuubi's chakra. Shut up! Shut up! Yelled Naruto as he went from whispering to shouting at the voice. Is that all that you have to say? Your father was twice the ninja that you were. What is keeping you going? Why have you not given up? Yelled the voice. What does it matter to you if I keep going or not? I will not give up as long as there are people who depend on me for safety. I have the power to become someone who can save the lives of those he loves. I will protect them till the day I die, and nothing is ever going to stand in my way, yelled Naruto. You are being serious, aren't you? Well then, face your inner darkness, and then you will finally learn who I am. Then will we have our talk, face to face, the voice shouted. What are you talking about? Asked Naruto. This darkness is the representation of your soul. However, it also the part of your soul that your powers depend on. Before you received you knives, this used to be nothing more than a sewer, but now it has changed, explained the voice. How did it change just by receiving my knives? Asked Naruto. Those knives of yours contained the spirit of a great warrior, Aeons old and the savior of his people, that has fought far more battles than anyone else on this planet. It is from him that your shadow capabilities come from. You will meet with him, and he will decide whether or not you are indeed worth of his powers, said the voice. Okay. When do I meet this great warrior? Said Naruto with sarcasm. To his surprise, two great red eyes appeared in the darkness just in front of him. You will meet him now, yelled the voice as Naruto suddenly found himself floating in a dark area of space, with dots of light floating through the sky. Now where am I? Damn voice acting like it is an all-powerful being, yelled Naruto as he looked around. What he saw behind him was a massive green, white, and blue orb. The colors intermixed with each other, and he could honestly say it was beautiful. Just then a bright light appeared on the planet that forced Naruto to cover his eyes. When he looked again, he saw the masses of white circling a massive obtrusion on the orb that was a red color. Soon, spreading from the obtrusion, it seemed death and destruction. The masses of white had disappeared to become blackened, and the green masses slowly turned brown and a disgusting purple, all originating from the red obtrusion. Like a virus, it spread until over half the orb was covered by what Naruto could only describe as death and sorrow. What was once beauty was nothing but a diamond struggling to maintain its beauty. "Is this my soul?" asked Naruto. "No, young one, this is not your soul," came a voice that resonated as if it came from everywhere once again. It was different than the other voice, though. The other was filled with hate and malice, while this one was filled with wisdom and sadness. "Great," another voice. "Any chance you will actually show yourself?" said Naruto as his surroundings changed once more. Now he was on what seemed like a stone road with massive statues and temples on the sides. Vegetation seemed to have wreaked havoc on some of the statues and temples. The statues themselves were of armored things, he said people, because he was not sure if they were men or something else. They had only 3 fingers and elongated heads with no mouths. "Where am I now? Why is this happening to me? Do I really deserve something like this?" asked Naruto as he walked to the end of the road and looked down to see a massive valley filled with vegetation. "This used to be the home planet of my people eons ago, before any even lived on your world. My people thrived on this planet, living in harmony until a discovery was made that shook it to its core," stated the voice. "One of the greatest warriors of our race discovered a way to link our minds together in harmony. Many of my people rallied to his cause, and the way of the Kalai was born. However, there were some that did not wish to let go of our individuality. So we were banished by a corrupt council against the wishes of our greatest leader," stated the voice with much sadness. "That makes no sense. Why would they just banish you for wanting to remain individuals?" yelled Naruto. "It never made sense. My forefathers were part of those that were banished. We went to the world of Shakuras, which is the home of my people. We became known as the banished ones, while our cousins worked the power of the Kalai. While we used the power of the void, in which the powers of darkness and shadows manifests itself," explained the voice. "So what you mean is that my shadows are coming from this void?" asked Naruto. "That is exactly what I mean. The void can allow someone to see the future, become like a shadow, and manipulate them through years of training," came the voice. "So what you're saying is that my possibilities are limitless? Also, what is your name?" asked Naruto. "Yes, the possibilities of your powers are limitless when they are mixed with your chakra. My species, the Protoss, could use the void, but we never had enough energy to use all of its power. If you must know my name, it is Zeratul," explained Zeratul. "So are you going to teach me to use my powers, Zeratul?" asked Naruto as he struggled to understand what this Zeratul was saying. "No one can teach you to harness the powers of the void. The void calls upon all beings, and you must continue to harness it so that you can become stronger. I have seen your past, and the void allows me to see your future. You will become a great ninja, but it will be through hard work and the courage to stand for what you believe is right." "If you can see the future, then why don't you tell me what I need to know then?" asked Naruto. "It is not my place to tell you what you need to know, young one. The sands of fate are always shifting, as it is our decisions that can change everything. This planet is my people's home world or my race was destined to assimilate into a being known as the Overmind," explained the voice as Naruto's surroundings shifted again. The sky was blood red, the clouds dark, and the ground devoid of all vegetation. Massive organisms and what looked like living buildings covered the valley below. The center of the valley held the most massive thing he had ever seen before. It looked like a giant organ with 4 appendages rising above it, with a central dome that moved around as if it were an eye. Thousands of other much smaller winged creatures circled it in a massive pillar. That's when he heard a loud bang and looked behind him to see thousands of horrifying-looking creatures charging at a large group of men in bulky blue armor. The men in the armor raised up big steel-looking rods, and suddenly thousands of explosions followed as the hundreds of the creatures fell to the ground bleeding and screeching. Massive metal beasts stood behind the men and started making the banging noise. Naruto could barely follow the projectiles as they left the tubes on the beasts. They must be some sort of advanced projectile weapon or something, and those must be metal suits that might run on chakra, thought Naruto. He watched in fascination as thousands of the creatures fell at the hands of the projectiles, but their numbers never wavered. Soon the creatures were upon the men and screams tore through his body. He felt sick as he watched men get mutilated, melted, or crushed by the horde. It was at that moment balls of blue light flew into the creatures and exploded in a mass of blue energy. The battle had shifted as a new faction joined on the side of the men. Naruto could immediately tell that these were not men, as they were larger and had a different color skin. Their warriors wore yellow armor that had two glowing blades sticking out of the wrists. These warriors cut into the ranks of the creatures and began to push them back as they were protected by projectile weaponry from the men, machines, and these four-legged walkers that were firing the energy balls. The Terran and the Protoss both fighting alongside each other to rid or of the infestation known as the Overmind. It was driven by single purpose to assimilate the Protoss into the Zerg to become complete. In one last gamble, the greatest Protoss ever, Executor Tassadar, sent his flagship into a direct collision with the Overmind. Explained Zeratul as Naruto now looked at the sky and saw hundreds of massive metal monsters descend from the sky with weapons blazing. They wreaked havoc on the Zerg ground forces before the column of Zerg flyers over the Overmind charged at the fleet. The battle turned worse as the metal monsters turned to flame and exploded. Only one made it through the thick blanket of Zerg and slowly moved towards the Overmind. Naruto watched in awe as blue energy came from the ship and covered it in a field of energy so bright he had to shield his eyes. It collided with the massive Overmind, and soon the great creature began to break apart as the blue energy tore into the creature. As it broke apart, peace descended on the battlefield as all three races stopped fighting. Suddenly all went dark again, and Naruto was standing in a long corridor that was dimly lit. "Why don't you show yourself and tell me what I need to know then, Zeratul?" asked Naruto. "Very well," stated Zeratul as a figure walked out the darkness. He stood around 5 feet 9 inches and had blue skin with glowing green eyes. He had armor only on his wrist, where Naruto assumed his energy blade came from. The rest of his body was covered in a dark purple cloak that seemed to give him a deadly sort of appearance. "Naruto Uzumaki, I have chosen you to be the successor of my people's power, the Void. You will not discover everything about your powers, but if you understand the Void, it will help you," said Zeratul before he continued. "That battle was one of my species' greatest ever. Only after our leader Tassadar harnessed the powers of the Void could he kill the great beast. The battle also taught our species that we were not alone in the universe against such a threat. We worked alongside the human race and we won the day. My greatest friend after the war was done was James Raynor, the ancestor of your race," said Zeratul before he was interrupted. "This is all good and all, but what does this have to do about choosing me to have your powers?" asked Naruto. "Because you are the ancestor of James Raynor, and only someone who has both a light side and dark side can properly harness them. We will talk again, but I have judged your soul and you are indeed worthy," finished Zeratul as he backed away and disappeared into the dark. "Great! How the hell do I get out of here?" asked Naruto as everything went black again and he was in the first room again, but two giant red eyes were looking at him. "So you are back, human. Do you still wish to know who I am?" came the voice again. "You're the QB. I don't why didn't know before, but after realizing that Zeratul was in my mind, then I only had to use process of elimination to know that those eyes belong to you, furry," said Naruto boredly as he just wanted the hell out of here. "You have a lot of guts for a human, but then again you have gotten blessings from Zeratul. We will talk again soon, you're needed outside," said the QB as everything began to dissolve. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and realized that he was in a dark, moist area. Not as dark as his mind, but still pretty dark. He slowly got up and registered the fact that he no longer felt any pain in his body. He looked to the side, saw that he seemed to be in a tree, well, at least under the tree as he could see the roots. Just then he heard a cry of pain from outside and looked to see an opening in the roots. He walked outside to see Sasuke fighting against one of the Nin from sound, protecting an injured Sakura. Then he watched Kiba and Shino fighting the leader of the sound team. Then he saw Hinata trying to fight the girl on their team. Quickly he summoned 2 shadow clones and the 3 took off to fight the 3 opponents. The original went after the girl, while the clones went after the two boys. The one Sasuke was fighting was launching high-pressure air attacks at Sasuke with ease. This prevented him from getting close, or using a fireball as his chakra would then run low. Damn this guy. If it wasn't for the fight with those Kumo nin, this guy would already be down, thought Sasuke as he took cover behind a tree. Haha, is this all the power that the great Uchiha has? This is pathetic. Great decapitating air waves, Zaku yelled as he shot his strongest attack at Sasuke. I can't dodge this, thought Sasuke as the attack approached him. Futon, great breakthrough, yelled Naruto as he jumped in front of Sasuke and launched one of his few wind jutsu. The attacks collided and both fought for dominance. It was a stalemate until Naruto's clone pushed every bit of chakra that it had into the attack. Nothing happened for a second, but then Zaku's attack changed directions and the power of both attacks combined smashed into him. Kill him, then help get Sakura on her feet, said the clone before it poofed out of existence. The one that was going to assist Kiba and Shino had it easier as he just had to get behind Dosu and wait for the opening. During this he had noticed that Shino's eyes weren't covered by sunglasses. Shino, sensing Naruto, quickly gave him that opening by throwing a kunai at Dosu. He moved to block the kunai, but didn't notice Naruto drop down from above and slam a kunai into the base of his skull. Well, that was easy, said Naruto as he smiled at the battered forms of Kiba and Shino. That's because you've been asleep for the past day, yelled Kiba as he hit the clone on the head, causing it to dispel. What the hell was that? Asked Kiba in shock as he never saw a clone like that. That was just a clone, stated Shino as he took out another pair of sunglasses to replace the ones Dosu had broke. How many of those do you have? Asked Kiba. How many fleas do you have? Answered Shino with another question. Kiba answered back with a rude remark, starting off another one-sided argument. Hinata was faring surprisingly well against Kin. The girl was genjutsu specialist and could throw senbon with accuracy. Her genjutsu didn't work as Hinata's Byakugan could see through all illusions. The only drawback in the fight was that she was still a little injured from her fight with the Kumonin. Her teammates said something happened to Naruto that allowed him to heal her. That was what had her confused the most. They said Naruto had become something else that was completely focused on protecting her and killing the nin that had done those attacks to her. This girl wasn't nearly as strong as the Kumonin, but she was fast enough just to stay away from Hinata. She had finally gotten close when she heard the sound of a kunai approaching and ducked. The kunai sailed over her head, directly into the Kin's throat. Hinata got back up and watched with a little pity as her opponent slowly collapsed to the floor. Just then she felt a pair of arms wrap around her body from behind. Instinctively she broke the hold and spun around while sending a juken strike into the gut of the one who grabbed her. Only after she hit her attacker did she realize her mistake as Naruto was on the ground holding his gun, with a small grin on his lips. I should have realized you would be too on edge to try and hug you, Hinata, he said as he got to his feet slowly. Naruto! She screamed as she grabbed a hold of him and hugged him tightly to her body, all the while apologizing about hitting him. Shino and Kiba were smiling at their sister as she kept trying to apologize to Naruto about hitting him. Sasuke was reluctantly holding Sakura, as he didn't seem to care about Naruto and Hinata. Hinata, I'm okay, it only stung a bit and I'm a quick healer, said Naruto as he held Hinata as she hung on to him. I'm sorry, you just got up from being hurt badly and I didn't want you to be hurt anymore, she mumbled into his chest, but he heard it all. Don't worry, you didn't hurt me, Hinata, said Naruto as he pulled her a bit closer. If you don't mind, we need to move to the tower. Most of us are out of chakra and we have our scrolls. It would be most wise if we headed to the tower and got some rest before the next part of the exam, said Sasuke as everyone looked at him for talking this much, even Shino. Look, who cares what I do? But I am right, yelled Sasuke as he quickly got tired of the stairs. He is right. We should be able to make it in less than 1 hour, said Shino as the rest nodded. Naruto created a clone to carry Sakura and they were off to finish the second part of the exams. They were unaware of the silver-haired genin following them the whole time, wondering why there was a change in plans. Where are you, Orochimaru-sama? Wondered the genin as he decided to get moving. It didn't take them long before they were all at the tower wondering what they were supposed to do with their scrolls. Maybe we should open it? Asked Naruto as he looked at both his heaven and earth scroll. Yeah right Baka, and risk being disqualified, yelled Sakura. Naruto is right, said Sasuke as Sakura immediately shut herself up and put herself on Sasuke's side. Indeed, there were no rules stating that we couldn't open the scrolls after we made it back, said Shino. Okay, let's do this, said Naruto as he opened both of the scrolls and promptly threw them on the ground. A second later, there was a poof of smoke and Irika was there smiling at the 6 genin. It seems that you guys decided to get together to make it through the exams. Not really, sensei. We have to talk to Gigi about what happened in the exams, said Naruto. Well, you have 3 days to rest before the next part starts, but I'm not sure if the Hokage will be around in the next 3 days. There was a lapse in security in the exams, said Irika. What exactly happened? Asked Shino. Well, Orochimaru was spotted entering the village by one of our top ANBU squads. Thankfully, he didn't make it into the forest, explained Irika as he allowed Team 8 to follow since they showed him their scrolls. This is different, we need to talk to Gigi about it, said Naruto. Okay, I will send him a message, but don't get your hopes up, said Irika when he sensed how serious Naruto was. For now, all of you just take a break and engage in some light exercising. When the Hokage gets here, I will summon you all, said Irika as everyone nodded and he walked away. Well, I'm going to get something to eat. Anyone want to come? Hinata? Asked Naruto as she smiled and nodded. The others quickly found excuses and walked away. I guess that just leaves you and me, Hinata, smiled Naruto as he grabbed her hand and dragged her around in an attempt to find the lunchroom. Entering the lunchroom, they noticed immediately the sand team there in the corner. The older two looked like they were pretty banged up and tired, and even Gaara looked like he had come out of a blender. They immediately looked up when Naruto barged through the door and were surprised to see Hinata there with them. To this they were surprised as they had thought that the Leaf team that was in forest with them was destroyed. How the heck did that Leaf team survive against 4 Kumo teams? Asked Kankuro. I know. I thought they were dead meat when that crazy bitch separated us with that massive katana attack, answered Temari. That blonde arrived. I sensed his killing intent from a few miles away. Mother wants his blood badly, said Gaara as a bloodthirsty smile covered his face. Temari and Kankuro looked at each other for a second before going back to their meals. That girl may have escaped due to you, but you will not escape Mother's wrath, thought Gaara. Naruto and Hinata quickly ate and left to find somewhere quiet to rest and talk for a little bit. So how do you think Shikamaru's team is going to do? Asked Naruto as they sat on a balcony overlooking the forest. I don't know. As long as Shikamaru doesn't fail on purpose, I'm sure they can make it, responded Hinata. Yeah, that is true. The only way for him to work hard is if it is for a break, laughed Naruto as Hinata did too. Soon a comfortable silence settled on the two for a few minutes. Thank you. Hinata spoke softly after a few minutes. What was that? Asked Naruto as he barely heard her. I said thank you, said Hinata as she looked down a bit. Why are you saying thank you, Hinata? Asked Naruto. Because if it wasn't for you, I would be on my way to Kumo now. They would have done horrible things to me, Naruto, yelled Hinata as tears formed at her eyes. Immediately she felt 2 pairs of arms wrap around her again and pull her into their body. This time, however, she didn't hit the person, but allowed herself to be pulled into their chest as tears ran down her eyes. It's okay, Hinata. I will do everything in my power to protect you. You mean too much to me for me to let you get hurt, whispered Naruto as Hinata softly cried into his chest and hugged him back. It didn't take long for her to stop crying, and to Naruto's amazement he found that she was sleeping. What am I supposed to do now? Thought Naruto as he decided to make one of his shadows go look for where Team 8 was sleeping for the night. This is the shadow's perspective. Remember, they are linked to Naruto's mind, so it is like it is Naruto. The shadow was running through the entire tower trying to find either Kiba or Shino. Along the way he spotted a Kusa team enter the tower, and he even spotted another Leaf team that had Lee in it. Finally he found Kiba and Shino arguing about whether or not dogs or insects were better partners. What do you mean insects are smarter? Yelled Kiba as Akamaru barked in agreement. Guys, sorry to break this up, but I was wondering where the room they assigned you was? You see, Hinata fell asleep in my lap and I was going to put her to bed, said Naruto. As Shino and Kiba nodded. We will show you where we are staying then, Naruto, said Kiba. They soon made it back to Naruto and Hinata as the shadow was directly linked to Naruto. As soon as they made it, the shadow sunk into the floor and joined up with Naruto's actual shadow. Check it out, you guys. Ever since the fight with Kumo Nin, my shadow chakra has been much easier to control, said Naruto as he smiled at them. Ever since talking with Zeratul, his shadow chakra was much stronger as he was beginning to access the void. The only problem was that the seals on his wrists that held his knives were starting to fade. If you want, we can take Hinata for you, offered Kiba as Naruto shook his head. Well, I would, but she won't let go, stated Naruto as he tried to pry her arms from him, but only managed to make her squeeze harder. That is a problem, stated Shino as he turned around and motioned for Naruto to follow him. The ironic thing about going to Team 8's room was that it was only 2 doors down from the balcony. If I had known that, I would have been good by myself, said Naruto as he put Hinata down in her bed. He tried to pull away, but was quickly brought down harder than before as Hinata squeezed the life out of him while mumbling about her Narukuin, to his embarrassment as Kiba and even Shino started laughing. Well, we will be back later, Naruto. Now don't do anything a gentleman wouldn't do, and you are welcome to stay here for tonight, laughed Kiba as he and Shino left the room. Don't leave me, said Naruto as he was once again pulled into Hinata's chest. Damn. Well, might as well get comfortable, thought Naruto as he laid his head on the pillow and just watched Hinata. I will never let anyone hurt you, Hinata. I don't know what I have been feeling lately, but I know that you are more than a friend to me, thought Naruto as he slowly drifted to sleep. Kiba and Shino were still laughing an hour later as they were in the rec room sitting around. Did you see how Hinata was suffocating him? Laughed Kiba as Shino chuckled a bit. Yes, do you think we did the right thing by leaving him in there? Asked Shino, as he was well aware of Hinata's feelings for Naruto. Of course we did. Heck, we're better matchmakers than even Ino, exclaimed Kiba. Shino, however, just got a sweat drop on his face as he saw someone approach Kiba from behind. What was that mutt? Yelled Ino, scaring the crap out of Kiba. What did you call me? Yelled Kiba as he glared at Ino. I called you a mutt mutt. Now what did you say about being a better matchmaker? Like that is any of your business, said Kiba as he turned around. A pity as he didn't see Ino lift her leg and plant it between his legs. Now, mutt, if you don't want me to work more of my feminine magic, I suggest you tell me what you meant by that statement earlier, said Ino in sickly sweet voice, making Kiba gulp. You win. Hinata fell asleep holding Naruto, so we helped him put her to bed. When we were leaving, Hinata grabbed Naruto in her sleep and wouldn't let him go, so we left them there, said Kiba as Ino looked surprised at that. So Naruto is here? That means Sasuke also passed the test. Anyway, what room are they in? I want to see this for myself, said Ino. I will lead the way again, said Shino as Ino happily followed him. Kiba slowly picked himself up and followed after the two while Shikamaru and Chuji saw their teammate leave and decided to follow. So how did you guys get your scroll? Asked Kiba as Shikamaru and Chuji caught up with him. Well, Shikamaru was trying to find a weak team to fight, so earlier today we found a large group of slaughtered Kumo ninja. Luckily, one of the teams still had a scroll, so we took it and made it here, said Chuji as he ate some chips. I'm still wondering what could have killed all of those shinobi, said Ino as they caught up to her and Shino. It was Naruto, said Shino out of the blue. What did you say? Asked Shikamaru. Those Kumonin were after Hinata, so they attacked us. We were only able to kill one of the 9 before Naruto showed up to save Hinata from a fate worse than death. Sasuke killed one and Naruto killed the rest, said Shino. How? Those ninja would have been between low Jounin and low Chunin rank if they were here to steal Hinata, stated Shikamaru. I don't know what it was, but Naruto did something that pushed him beyond the levels of all of those ninja. The amount of killing intent was the greatest I have felt in my life. stated Shino. Yeah, it was like I could just see my life ending. He was covered in a red and black chakra cloak that seemed to burn everything it touched, said Naruto as Shikamaru had a look of contemplation. It sounds like a Jinchuriki, but the leaf couldn't have one as all of them are accounted for. But the Kyubi, breathed out Shikamaru as he had just figured out one of the village's greatest secrets. That explains why we were always told to avoid Naruto by other parents. Why the teachers always glared at him and he always acted like he was happy. It was to hide the pain that he was feeling the whole time, he thought as they made it to his room. Everyone be quiet, I don't want to wake them up, whispered Ino as she went for the handle. What was that? Asked Kiba loudly. I said shut up, Ino yelled as she punched Kiba in the head. Everyone had sweat drops as she turned around started to slowly open the door. They all walked in and saw Hinata snuggled up to Naruto's chest with his arms wrapped around her protectively. A little drool was coming from Hinata's mouth and was pooling up on his shirt. Both of them were smiling faintly, but Hinata seemed to have cried earlier. The group slowly walked out and only when the door was closed did Ino only start to talk. They are such a cute couple, said Ino. They are pretty nice looking, agreed Chuji. Yeah, but why do you think Hinata seemed to have been crying earlier? Asked Shikamaru. Mostly because of what almost happened to her in the forest. The one Kumo Nin almost raped Hinata before Naruto showed up and killed him, said Kiba. Troublesome, said Shikamaru. Come on you guys, we need to get some rest for when the exams start up again. Team 10 walked away down the corridor when Shino and Kiba looked at each other. Should we sleep in the same room as Hinata and Naruto? Asked Kiba. Why not? Responded Shino as Kiba just gaped at him. Dick, whispered Kiba. I heard that, responded Shino as he walked into the room with Kiba following slowly. Naruto was lined up with his fellow genin with their senseis in an indoor arena with walkways surrounding it for people to observe the fights. There were 5 leaf teams, 1 sand team, and 1 kusa team. Most observers were surprised to see that every single one of the rookie teams made it past the forest death. The first match was between a member of Kabuto's team and Sasuke. Now a week ago Naruto would have been hoping for Sasuke to lose his match. But Sasuke was improving so fast in his attitude that Naruto just thought he was just faking everything. But when Sasuke came up looking for help, Naruto couldn't say no as it reminded him of when he begged Kakashi-sensei for help.